welcome everyone, and thank you for joining us tonight. Oh, this morning, sorry. I hope everyone is having a lovely day. And yeah, thank you for joining us for this new episode of Hippy Dippy Recruitment. Uh, ooh. I don't know whose mic is doing this. Yeah. Chance of Flurry, your mic is doing a weird noise. I don't know why.
Oh, dude, I like it. I like it.
What's it?
I like it.
All right. Anyway, Hippy Dippy Recruitment every Sunday 6 p.m. EST. Yeah, and hosted by me and co-hosted by CTV, Critically Thinking Veteran. How are you doing?
I'm doing outstanding, and I want to welcome everyone to the Hippy Dippy Sunday show where you, bright young minds, are trying to get a spot, right, on the show happening here Friday nights, Twitch Politics. Everybody knows it. They love it. It's called the Hippy Dippy Podcast, right? Am I right, folks? So from there, right, you're all here Sunday to have a good conversation, get to know some people. Let us know what your meme game is, right? How entertaining can you be? This is what, like... this is your moment to shine, right? Not only from an intellectual standpoint, but from a charismatic standpoint. That's what it's all about, folks. So I'm looking forward to having the conversations with everybody tonight. We're going to do so in the best of spirits, trying to put a smile on each other's face. Because at the end of the day, if you can't smile, right, all you're going to do is just end up being a miserable little fuck, and nobody's going to be around you. And I don't want to be that guy, right? So. From here, Geek, you decide where we go, but let's go around the room with some introductions.
Hell yeah. And let's start with Desmond. How are you doing?
I'm good. My name is Desmond Price. I am the host of the Independent Thought podcast, and you can find that podcast about anywhere that you want to look for a podcast, and I'm just excited to be here. Thanks for having me here today.
Hell yeah. Thank you for coming back. Always a pleasure. Trix, thank you for joining us. Hope you're having a good morning. How are you doing?
I'm still waking up. It's in the morning, and I went to bed at like 2, so I'm really pumped for today. I love these things.
Hell yeah. Love. I think we're covering the whole clock here. For me, it's midnight. For you, it's the morning. For people, it's 6, like basically the afternoon. So yeah, we got everything covered. But yeah, thank you for joining us. TheSprouticus, how are you doing?
Doing well. I'm loving CTV's enthusiasm. I'm more excited now after hearing his intro here, and yeah, I'm a co-host with the Chance of Flurry, Carl. I'm his co-host on our podcast. We're from Canada. How do you do?
Yeah. Always happy to have you on board. Well, let's read to Chance of Flurry. How are you doing, Carl?
Oh, I'm good. So yeah, my name's Carl. I'm with the Splonker. We co-host the Chance of Flurry show together. We're Canadian. So right now we're in the midst of an election, which is interesting. But yeah, we're here to talk about unions. It's gonna be good.
Hell yeah. HardWoodenSock, what's up?
What's up? As always, thank you for having me, Geek. You know, I haven't been as much of a presence recently, you know, with the new job and everything, but I appreciate being here. Moderate conservative, you know, just looking to have a good conversation about some fancy unions.
Yeah. Now let's throw it to someone who deserves absolutely no introduction. TheSprouticus. How are you doing, my dude?
I'm doing all right. I'm also a host of a podcast that's coming up this Monday. Not their podcast, but the podcast is coming up this Monday, so stay tuned for that. But I'm excited to get in this conversation. I'm a constitutionalist conservative. I'm sure if you've watched any panels on Twitch, you've seen my face before. Go to twitch.tv/TheSprouticus, give it a follow, give it a sub. Go to twitter.com/TheSprouticus and give it a follow.
Yeah. And last but not least, No Justice. How are you doing?
Yeah, right there. I'm doing very, very well, thank you. Thank you for the invite. It's much appreciated. Glad to be here. My name's No Justice. My handles there, basically all the socials. I'm a leftist, trade unionist, trans advocate, pathologic player, Britbonger rights activist, all the good stuff. It's good to be back.
Hell yeah. So let's go over the rules real quick. So as you know, there's a change in the format. Instead of going for 3 topics for 3 hours, we're going to try to make it shorter, you know, to keep everyone energy top level. So yeah, we're gonna have one fun topic, one serious topic, and one fun topic to finish on a good note. So yeah, sorry, I heard someone. No, okay, never mind. Yeah, so for the rules, same thing applies. We're going to go opening statement, period where you can engage, closing statement. You cannot interrupt during opening and closing. Depending on the fun topics, we might do opening statement. We'll see. But yeah. So yeah, don't interrupt during opening and closing. Also, rule number 1, when I talk, nobody talk. The only person allowed to interrupt me is CTV, and it's not to give his opinion, it's to co-host, you know? But yeah, no, that's the rule number 1. So yeah, I'm not here to give my opinion, I'm just here to moderate. Besides that, nothing TOS, obviously, no one wants to get banned. Respect each other, you know, don't interrupt too much and everything. Also, if you want to chime in and you see that like people are already engaged and everything, raise your hand. Keep that as a last resort. Try to jump in as much as possible. But yeah, if you see that it's really impossible, yeah, raise your hand. But usually I will try to give you the mic and everything. So yeah, with that being said, CTV, anything to add?
You know, I'm loving the fact that we got lots of panel hosts in here. So it should make moderation for you just to be a fucking breeze, right? And that means that since everybody understands that, the charisma, right, of those arguments is going to be able to come out so that you can capture the minds of the people and bring the board forth, right? The best possible fucking show of yourself that you can, right? Because when you do that, what you're ultimately going to do is you might end up having a chance to go for what? Oh, that's right. It's called the Hippy Dippy Championship belts. Anybody else
shit.
been in the run-ins for this thing? Y'all got to know it's gonna take that to get it. You got to know. So let's hear it tonight.
I've been there. CTV.
Yeah. We got two true veterans of the Hippy Dippy in every sense of the way. But yeah. Okay, with that being said, let's jump right into the first topic. So this one, I will ask you to consider this as like a chance to open up, to say stuff about yourself that you might not want to share. Anyway, here's the first topic, because I will be judging you silently. All right. If you had to swap your legs with the legs of any other animal, which animal would you choose and why? And I think for this one, we're going to go for a really short opening statement, like trying to keep it like 30 seconds, really. But yeah, let out your furry side, you know, get your spirit animal, just the legs, just the bottom half of the body. All right, and we're going to throw it to Desmond.
God, I'll have to go first. Man, that's a weird question.
That is a weird
guess-
question. I love it.
I guess a monkey, so I could hang from trees. Sounds like fun.
Okay. Decent answer. The Splunker.
Yeah, I think I might have to go like a monkey gorilla. I was thinking kangaroo maybe. It has to be something where I can still be upright and use my hands. Yeah, I would go gorilla.
All right. CTV. What's your opinion?
Well, I'm surprised nobody said it, right? I mean, these guys look like the kind of guys that would have such a brilliant answer such as this, but it's obvious if you just have a look back in mythology that, you know, replacing your legs with that of a centaur, right? And going full fucking minotaur with that shit is the only way to fucking do it.
Decent answer. Trick switch.
Yeah.
Hold on. First of all, a minotaur was the opposite. A minotaur was human legs and then with the top half animal. So you fucked that up. Second of all, The best
There we
answer
go.
for this question is clearly a large bird, such as an emu or a flamingo or a cassowary. Not only do their knees bend backwards, I want to be tall. I'm 5'2". I'm looking to gain some extra height through this transaction. Think smart.
I mean, that's a good goal. HardWoodenSock.
I don't know. I'd probably have to go with like a cheetah or something, you know. So this way, it's like if I'm ever like, you know, jumping off a cliff or jumping off a building, I'll probably land on my feet because I'll have at least part cat in me, you know, and then maybe I'll have like 4.5 lives instead of just one, you know. I'm pretty sure it's just, you know, all around. It's a pretty safe bet. Plus, I'm fast as fuck, boy.
Yeah. All right, Gensa Flurry.
Clarification.
Okay,
switch.
go ahead.
That's why I said centaur to begin with, and then said through Greek mythology, go full on minotaur, right? Okay.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. Gensa Flurry.
Yeah, I gotta go chimp bottom half because one, it's gonna make things way more convenient. Like I'm still gonna be able to like get through buildings and stuff. Like if I've got a bottom half horse, you know, good luck getting in places. But so I'm going chimp half, and it gives me an extra set of hands. So.
All right, and no justice.
Assuming we're going to say that it's going to be proportionally the same as the rest of your body. So if you choose a smaller animal, they get extrapolated to be within proportion of the rest of your body. In which case, I would go with a flea, and I would be able to jump like fucking sick shit. That'd be so good.
Nice. All right, the floor is yours.
All right, so we have how many people in here wanted to be a monkey? Like have a monkey?
Do I get a say?
Oh, yeah,
Do I get a little intro?
Literally the most
Oh.
boring.
Oh, sorry, Sprout.
I was just
Sprout.
curious.
Sprout, I'm sorry. I am so sorry. I forgot. My bad. That's on me.
I gotta go similar, not the exact same as CTV, but I gotta go with donkey. It kind of takes that centaur vibe, right? And then, well, you know what else they say about donkeys, so we'll leave that there.
Yeah, they're fucking Democrats. Thanks for outing yourself.
Oh, that's not it. But hey,
Wow.
I've been kicked out of the Conservative Party twice this week. Give me a third. Come on.
The infighting has begun.
All right. So 3 of you want to be monkeys, right? Like have a monkey lower half,
Hell yeah.
right? But how are you going to run away from your predators? You know, like because so
We're gonna confront him.
You're gonna confront them with what? You know,
And you
like,
can hold 2 sets of guns.
Fuck yeah, man.
You got
that's true. But then how are you standing though? You're kind of just laying on your back then at that point, right?
Well, if you got 4 guns, you're good.
Apes can
Yeah.
stand. What are you talking about?
But for clarity, Mr. Geek, just to confirm, in this particular instance, are we replacing our whole bottom half from the waist down, or is
Yes.
it just the legs from the pelvis attachment? Oh, okay, because that improves the people who've gone for monkey or any kind of ape descendant, because that means that you continue to keep your same reproductive organs, right? Which has lots of implications. Obviously, I don't particularly want to have to exchange them with the fleas at this point, do I?
Wait a second. No, he said from the waist down, so they would theoretically be replacing that.
Waist
that's
down,
from
that
the
means
waist
you also
down. Yeah.
gain a tail.
Right.
Yep.
So this
true.
reopens
Gain
the
a tail.
whole thing.
Yeah.
Wait, did we
Yeah,
stop
this is
forgetting
actually a
like
great
where's
Yeah.
that particular organ is on creatures?
It gets
of this
replaced.
nature?
That's what I'm saying. It gets replaced.
Yeah, but it's like the same thing.
On a flea? I'm not quite sure.
Oh,
Yeah,
not the flea. Yeah, no.
because I'm
That
the
one's
person who's
different.
not chosen a mammal in this
Monkeys.
instance, right? You've all chosen mammals that have like similar reproductive systems to organs. I've shot myself right in the foot here. The new foot that I've just accumulated, apparently. So
Yeah.
Well, we've all chosen animals. You've chosen insect. You've completely
Yeah.
off topic.
Insect's an animal.
Well, like,
That is true.
I was gonna say though, if we didn't have to pick like a landlocked animal, like I probably would have gone with like a dolphin or something, you know, because like their fins are powerful as hell.
Are
And
you
then,
really
like,
gonna want to live in the water?
HardWoodenSock's going straight
I don't know.
mermaid
Yeah.
with this.
I would love to
HardWoodenSock's
live
like,
in
I'm
the
gonna be a
water.
mermaid, okay?
Yo, that sounds great. You know, it sounds like freedom. You know
But
what
dude,
I mean?
you can't
It's
breathe
like
underwater.
vast
Like,
ocean. I know,
Just
but
your
you
bottom
can,
half, bro.
I know, but I'm saying
you just
like,
be trapped in the water forever.
To
but
be
I
fair,
Average was
dolphins
above
also.
a duck,
To be fair,
but,
dolphins also can't breathe underwater. So if he's choosing the bottom half of dolphin, they also can't breathe underwater.
yeah, so it's like, you know, like I'm fine going underwater for a little bit and then
But
popping
you got
up.
like a
and then,
human, like,
I know, you know, but like
get underwater for like a minute.
like,
And also
but think
seem
about
is
it. Think
better.
about it. Like the ocean is so free. You know what I mean? Like you can go anywhere. Like there's more ocean than there is land. So basically, I have more territory to explore than you do, right?
Yeah, but I mean,
And
good
I
luck
can
when
be-
a
I mean,
shark
you
comes
can't-
up on you and you're just a human top half.
I'm faster.
Actually, you're
Yeah.
not
Even if
faster.
you're fast in the
You're not
water,
faster.
that
The
doesn't mean-
reason sharks are scared of dolphins is because of their nose. So you've accepted the bottom half of the dolphin, but you've completely forgotten that the top half is why sharks are scared of dolphins.
If
Well,
you're gonna,
I
if we're gonna have
travel
a look
around
at
with like a
animals,
spear or
okay, sorry.
something. No, go ahead. Sorry, Justin.
Because if we're going to go for animals that can go underwater, then what's the best bet than other to go for an amphibian, right? Be a newt, and then you can go underwater and also go on land as well. You're not pigeonholing yourself into one specific area.
Yeah, but doesn't that really come down to a conversation about like how deep you're actually trying to go? I mean, because if
That's true, that's true.
that's true. The amphibians can't go as deep as some of your deeper water
And,
animals.
I've been known to enjoy going deep, so it's
That's typically CT,
But if you've got,
that's
like,
typically
human
because of
lungs and
lungs,
stuff,
though.
like, that
Yeah, that's
can-
typically because of lungs of the animal of how deep they can go. You've still got human lungs, so you've got like 60 seconds underwater before you have to like
Yeah.
desperately have to go back up.
Sure.
I can
If
have
it's-
breathing apparatus.
Yeah, literally, if you get the equipment, if you swapped your bottom half for like a giant squid, you would be unstoppable. Nothing. You wouldn't even have to worry about like sharks and shit. You're a giant squid. What are they gonna do about it?
Yeah, you got
Literally
so
get a
many.
buy a snorkel.
Yeah, I mean, you've got so many tentacles there too. So
By a snorkel.
like,
A snorkel means that you're just gonna
Yeah.
sit at the top. You're just
Well,
gonna
yeah.
sit at the top.
How deep do you want to go? There's nothing at the bottom
Buy a
of the
snorkel.
ocean. Why would you want to live at the bottom of the ocean? There's nothing there.
I mean, if I'm
Yeah.
in the middle of
Right.
the
Is that
ocean,
your thing?
that's where I'm stuck.
Yeah.
Like I'm gonna want to visit underneath and not just be like on the surface of the water the entire time. Imagine like the severity of the sunburn you'd be getting, right? If you just
With
snorkeled
like
your
a
entire
plastic
life.
straw.
Nah, you'd get tan as hell though, because like you would adapt right,
sunburn.
to all that sunlight.
You would not
No.
adapt.
Yeah, you
You
would.
would get skin cancer. real quick.
Evolution does not work like that, my friend.
Well, I mean, over time, you know what I mean. After like millions
No.
of generations of
That's
myself.
assuming you're, that's
Right.
assuming you're
Your new life
reproducing.
give you a
Yeah.
more-
How are you reproducing? What are you reproducing with your dolphin lower half?
I
Yeah,
guess
you're gonna
another
have to
dolphin,
survive-
you know what I mean? And then we make like a quarter human, you know, and it's like a quarter human, 3/4 dolphin.
yeah,
You
but
know,
in
and then-
reality, you're going to have to survive the first generation before you get to those years of evolution you're talking about, right?
Nah, you'd be alright. You know, I think
Every great plan in history starts off that way. Nah, you'll be all right.
Fuck the way evolution works. All right, you'd be all right. Just
You'll
go
be
do
good.
it.
you know, like I don't know. See, I feel like when you're like landlocked though, like there's so many more people, and like I don't like when there's like a lot of people around me. So you know, which is another reason why I
Well, there's
pick
even
cheetah
more
because I
fish in
can
the
run.
ocean.
Well, yeah, but there's a lot more space in the ocean. You know, like there's so much that we haven't even discovered yet at this point. So
I think we
in
discovered.
reality,
Dude, where are you gonna sleep?
no,
Also, I'm
in
guessing
the
you're a big
ocean.
fan of seafood.
We
no,
know
I
what
actually hate seafood. So like that
Well,
would be
then,
like a big
I think
downfall.
that's your only
for me.
option, dude.
It would be a big downfall for me, no
Yeah,
doubt.
exactly. So I wouldn't do that.
You
So,
know,
like, I guess maybe I mean, can we mod? I mean, you did kind of allude to like full on furry thing earlier. So then, like, I guess the next step of the evolution of this, right, is to just say which animal would you actually want to be and why, right?
Hmm.
That seems to be like, you know,
So
We're doing full animal now? Because that
Well,
changes my answer.
I think
Yeah,
that's
that's a
I
different
changed my
answer.
answer. I changed
That's
I
a
think
different
that's-
answer.
I think, yeah, and I think that's probably like evolved this thing because, I mean, when you're trying to put the restrictions of the human body onto this thing, it really comes down to more of a form of function, right? But
I mean,
if you
no
can
one
take
had
on the
anything to
full
say-
capabilities, you know what I mean? Then like the conversation really expands. So
No one had
Okay.
anything to say about the donkey, right? No one came after me for choosing a donkey, so I
Well,
obviously
I would
got the
say-
correct answer, right?
I just
Actually,
think it
alright.
says a lot about you. That's all I have to say.
why didn't you choose
Yeah, it's really
the horse?
boring.
That's boring.
Yeah,
Yeah.
donkey's such like a donkey, horse, and monkey. I think are really like boring. That's like the equivalent of being like, oh, my favorite animal's a dog. Like, it's the very safest pet.
We're not trying to, impress anyone. I'm trying to go
mean,
with utility.
I'm thinking about like
yeah.
effectiveness. It's effective.
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
mean,
so
it's
what-
robust.
I'm not
Other
trying
people,
to
other
Okay.
people, other people are
Okay.
saying like
With my
flea,
answer.
dolphin tail, like those aren't effective. They didn't think about like the long-term effects. They're like,
Yeah.
you know what? It'd be cool to go that deep underwater, but you completely forgot you've got human lungs. So I mean, no one had anything to say against donkey. It's boring.
Well, I
Yeah,
have
it's
this to
boring
say
because
against
it
Would
works.
donkey legs? Would donkey legs
donkey-
increase your carry capacity? Like, would you be able to carry more shit as a result of having mule legs?
If it's from the waist down, then yeah.
Yeah, 100%.
But why wouldn't you pick the horse? Is the donkey stronger than the horse in that subject? Because the donkey's just a smaller horse, isn't he?
It is a smaller
wanna
horse.
go-
More
And I would-
compact, easier to take
It's more
places.
compact.
I mean,
Yeah.
if there was ever a reason for you to want to call yourself a jackass, I mean, go right ahead.
Maybe that's the thing.
Hey, I'm an asshole, but I'll make you smile.
I really
All
like
right.
seeing Sprout's skin get so thick. I love it. I love how his skin's thickened up.
Are we
All right.
picking animals now?
No, I
So
think we're
animals-
going to jump into like the main topic right now. But
Oh,
before we
goodness,
do
here we go.
so, I just want to tell you why you're all wrong. The only right answer is bear. Those
Bear.
things can walk for miles and miles and miles. They evolved to be good on land and in the water. Like they have retractable claws and everything. It's perfect. I don't know why no one is choosing this. Anyway,
I wasn't thinking about killing things, but
I mean,
So
why
operate in
you
human
could shred a
society.
chicken with your
right,
foot,
go
you
for
know? Prepare
Wait a minute,
meat
where's
and
Danbo?
everything.
We know that the only correct answer is Lego Batman. Right?
True.
All right, yeah.
He already typed it.
He already typed it.
But anyway, yeah, let's jump. Yeah, I think it was a fun topic. Let's jump into the main one, which is. All right. That's a little bit weird to change from fun to serious like this, but yeah, okay. Labor unions use a tactic referred to as collective bargaining to improve workers' conditions, advance wages, and secure benefits, as well as supporting members in disputes with management and engaging in political action and lobbying. Do you think in the year 2021, labor unions have outlived their usefulness, or do you believe labor unions are important safeguard for the American workers? All right, that's a tough one. And with that, I'm going to throw it to the Splunker.
Uh-oh. Well, the question is, in 2021, do I think they've outlived their usefulness? I think I take everything on an individual basis. So even on when it comes to companies and industries, you take that on an individual basis. But in the large scale, I believe in the right for workers to form unions. Whether or not it's always the right thing to do, that's another topic of debate. Sometimes it can backfire, especially now with automation. There can be some arguments against it. But my answer would be I support the right for the worker to be able to form unions. And there you go. That's my answer.
I'm muted. All right. I'm going to throw it to No Justice.
I would believe in our current neoliberal paradigm of multinational corporations, spiraling cost of living, and the gig economy, the need for worker organisation has never been greater. The USA has a shockingly low unionisation rate. Only 10% of workers are union members, compared to, say, 70% of Danish workers, creating a chasm of unequal bargaining power between employers and employees. Research shows that unionised workplaces are better paid, have better benefits, and have happier workforce on average, shifting the balance of power further towards the working class. Now, the country is currently hamstrung by at-will employment laws, the Taft-Hartley Act, and substantial union busting power of corporations, which is why I would suggest a transition from individual workplace unions to sectoral bargaining that would create the momentum necessary to engage with multinationals head-on. Lastly, the need for general trade unions and the repeal of the Taft-Hartley Act would allow for union representation in the party political arena, either by influencing the current duopoly or by funding a new pro-worker political party to directly advocate for the needs of the working class. The coronavirus pandemic has shown us that the working class are integral to the function of our society and have been taken for granted for too long, and it is time for the US working class to collectively demand better.
All right. I'm going to throw it to HardWoodenSock.
Yeah, so I'm actually pretty pro-union. I think they actually serve a very good purpose in our society in protecting, workers' rights from management, helping, negotiate better wages, better benefits, stuff like that. That's just like a general, but like there are some negatives to it. Like there are some some things that unions do that I don't necessarily like in regards to like trying to push public health policy or trying to influence elections. I think that it should really be focused more on their workers and keeping it in the workplace and negotiating with management and protecting them from getting fired. There are some really good examples of very strong unions, like the teachers union is a very strong union, and the police union, very strong union, right? I know a lot of people hate the police union, but at the same time, they do a really good job for what a union is supposed to do. I think some unions don't have that kind of power, and I would like to see more of that collective bargaining and whatnot between management and the workers. I think that would be very beneficial for society as a whole.
All right. I'm going to throw it to TheSprouticus.
I think unions have outlived outlived their usefulness. We've seen again and again and again the outcome of unions. Unions, they act as a monopoly. That if you join a workforce, there's only one union you're forced to join. So unions 100% act as a monopoly, and they've got other side effects as well. They cause inflation, they cause layoffs, they cause bankruptcy, and ultimately unions cause outsourcing. And so I think these are all damaging to the working force. I think that the unions have outlived their usefulness, and they need to go away or be rebuilt from the ground up.
Strong words. I'm going to throw it to Trix Switch.
Yeah, I'm incredibly pro-union. I'm a member of my union for my field, I guess. We just kind of have one per like whatever you work in. So if you work in hospitality, there's like a hospitality union. It's not really case by company. Also, they're free to join most of the time. You get it all back on taxes. Unions are the whole reason why I get like penalty rates, which is where you get like time and a half on public holidays. Unions are the whole reason why we have the 8-hour workday, and we don't have to work for 12 hours a day. Like, honestly, I don't see a downside to having unions. I don't see a downside to unionizing. It just seems like a good time. Like, you get more leverage as a worker. So I think it's really cool.
All right. I'm going to throw it to Chance of Flurry.
All right, well, I agree with that. I think unions are really cool. I think, union workers in large in the United States, you can see they're paid better. They get, more benefits, better health coverage, more vacation days, more paid holidays, more sick days. They generally have access to the same type of overtime as non-union workers. There's really no downside. It just gives you leverage as a worker who is, obviously at a lower level than your management. To kind of get together. This is why it's called collective bargaining, and just we use our collective power against that of management. I think that's the struggle that is inherent in a capitalist workplace, and that needs to exist. Otherwise, what are we just going to let management run all over the worker? So yeah, I don't think they've lost their place. I think if anything, we should be expanding unions. So that's where I stand.
All right. Desmond, did you go?
I haven't yet, no.
All right. Your turn.
Yeah, I think that unions have not outlived their usefulness. I think what we're seeing right now in our country is that, workers in the workplace are at an all-time low as far as protections are concerned. I mean, when unions work correctly, and I'm not saying that they all work correctly, but when they do work correctly, they do seem to have a tangible benefit that you can point to. I think the most notable ones, HardWoodenSock mentioned teachers unions, police unions, but I also want to just mention, some sports unions. Because, in the sport in Major League Sports, the Major League Baseball has like a profit sharing with the players and the owners. They share, I think 47% goes to the players. In the NFL, it's 48%, and NBA, it's 50%. So with those like major unions, those workers, those employees get paid substantially more than your average worker would. And when you look at non-union workers, just in other industries, think about health insurance, for instance, it would seem that on average, I think 67% of non-union workers have access to health insurance through their companies, but versus when union workers have up to 94% of them are covered by health insurance on their companies. And also we mentioned that they get paid more. So union workers on average right now are getting about 19% more money than non-union workers, which equates to about $800 a month. And truthfully speaking, if unions weren't really that necessary, if they weren't like a threat, then companies like Amazon wouldn't be going so far out of their way to make sure that unionization efforts didn't happen to them. And as far as I'm concerned, if anyone knows how to make money, it's Amazon, and they were obviously threatened by the unionization effort in Alabama, so I'm deferring to their good judgment. They thought it was a threat. Obviously, it must be a good thing for workers. I'm on the side that unions have not outlived their usefulness.
All right. And last but not least, CTV.
Well, what were the purpose of unions back in the day? Right? It wasn't so much about pay, right? It was about workers' conditions. And now we're at a point in history where, like, a lot of the workers' conditions are usually pretty good from the start, right? There's a lot of regulations in place, like OSHA, right, that make sure that, like, certain safety regulations have to be followed, right? There's, like, for instance, with truck driving, right? Your federal laws with regard to the FMCSR, or Federal Motor Carrier Safety Regulations Manual, right? So, like, that was the original intent of a lot of these labor unions, and now we've shifted it over to, like, the conversation about pay and stuff. And whenever there is a particular job that someone is doing, say they're doing the package moving from this shelf to fucking this shelf, or whatever the fucking job is, if it's the same repetitive shit that pretty much you could teach anybody to do, there's usually just a set, we can afford to pay somebody X amount of dollars to do this job. So then once the people get in there and they start complaining about, oh, well, we don't like that we're only getting paid X amount for this job, when in, like, reality, if you don't want to do this job, you absolutely can go do something else in order to make money for yourself. So it's one of those where the things that labor unions could actually do would be to start actually taking a lot of look at the labor laws to see which ones would actually be negatively impacting workers, so that maybe they could rein in their government a little bit, so that it would allow for maybe the corporations to be a little bit more efficient with their resources. That way, it would be a little bit better for them to be able to give more of the fucking, money made from the product that they're manufacturing and selling, or the good or service that they're doing, back to the fucking worker. So, do they have a place? Yeah, I just don't think they themselves quite understand exactly what that is.
All right. And with that being said, the floor is yours.
Okay, well, I think that in terms of what CTV was just talking about, I mean, what I would say is that we still need someone who can bring that dichotomy between, because if you're going to release the managers and you're going to release the corporation from the bonds of the government, then you're still going to need something to even that out between the workers and management, because as we've seen, when you cut these government regulations, generally what the corporations do is that management ends up being the ones who get all of the benefit. They're the ones who see the hikes in salaries, so it doesn't generally trickle down to the workers the way that you mentioned would. The way that we do that is by organizing and by using our power. I mean, if the pandemic taught us anything, we saw that the guy who moves the box from here to here is part of what they call the essential workforce.
Let
right?
me ask
The
you a very basic.
the management is not.
What's
Let me ask you
here-
a very basic question, right? Let's say you're trying to put together a pickup truck, right? Or well, let's just go way simpler than that. Something like a wagon, right? And you've got 5 people, and you say, "Hey, you're going to worry about just the axles. Hey, you're going to go chop down the tree so that we can have the wood here. You, when the wood gets here, you're going to cut it into slats. That way we can nail shit together. You are running to the hardware store to get the fucking nails, right? And you give everybody a job, and then they go do it, right? And then the wagon gets put together just as you said while you're working along with them, right? Who was the most benefit in that scenario? The person that was managing everybody else and putting the plan together. So this is true in anything that you're ever trying to build. So while I can definitely appreciate the argument of the workers, deserving their fair share, absolutely. But it's not to say at the same time that somehow that the people that were putting together the big fucking part of the plan shouldn't be the first ones that end up getting their pay raises because they were using the resources that they had as efficiently as they could to get to the goals that they had.
Who here is part of a union? Raise your hand. Just by raise of hands, who here is part of a union? Okay. And keep your hands raised if it was optional to be in that union once you accepted the job. Keep your hands raised if it was optional.
Oh, optional. No.
Okay, so Trix and No Justice, you guys weren't forced to join the union?
Single person.
Okay.
That's not even a thing in my country that.
Yeah, because we have I'm assuming in Australia you have it as sectoral bargaining through general trade unions and through specific trades, right? It's not like in the US where it's all individual workplace unions because that's unfortunately because of Taft-Hartley you can't really do. Whereas I'm assuming I don't really know about labour laws in Australia, but in the UK I'm part of the Communication Workers Union because I work in telesales. So that covers the single union of, I think it's 400,000 people, collectively bargains on behalf of workers against all of the other, the employees.
Did you join that union, or were you in that union because you accepted that job? Because you're in that workforce that you're in that union.
Because how do you mean? Are you saying that did I have to join because I was in the job I was in? No.
Did you join the union, or was it you in the job so you're automatically in the union?
No. I joined the union voluntarily.
Okay, so it seems like it may be different overseas, but in the United States, if you accept a job that's unionized, you are forced to join the union. You are forced to pay union dues. These are things you are forced to do. I hear a lot of
closed shop unions were closed shop unions aren't mandatory in right to work states. There's 27 of the US states are right to work states where closed shop unions aren't allowed. So it depends on where you are in the US in that regard.
Okay, well, there are certain unions to where if you join that job, it's just an explicit you're going to join the union. I understand the right to work. The right to work is a little bit different than what I think you understand.
Like a lot of workplaces
but so everyone's talking about getting paid more. Everyone continues to say, yeah, people who are in unions, they're typically paid more. Here's the issue with that argument. When you go into that they're paid more, yes, that may be true on its face. But when you actually look at it, they're being given a higher wage, and there's not the increase of productivity that goes along with that wage. The increase of productivity is not there when these workers are given a higher wage. So since this is happening through the economy, the government is then forced to print more money, which raises inflation, which means that the money that you are getting that's extra, the higher wage, is now meaningless because inflation is now raised and the prices of the goods that you're wanting to get now cost more. Does that make sense?
Worker remuneration in regards with respect to increase in productivity. Productivity has been rising since the 80s. The worker remuneration hasn't risen.
Yeah, before y'all get off on a different tangent. Sprout, I was hoping you were going to go like a little bit different direction with that. Like it would have made much more sense if with the beginning of that, and instead of going into like trying to bring the government and taxes and everything else into it, if you would have simply said that you would have driven the motivation for people that, as working as individuals, would be able, say they've got, certification A, B, and C down the line to be able to, show this is my experience, right? And then they go into the interview and they let their level of knowledge be known and be able to describe whatever it is they're working on, versus somebody else that may be coming under the same job title but doesn't have all that necessary experience ahead of time. And then they end up more in the position of, say, leading other people simply because they have the level of knowledge, but they're still working under the same job title. And this happens a lot in other companies too. So like the union ends up forcing the labor price across the board, which is, you're absolutely right there. But it creates the dynamic where now the person is de-incentivized from doing labor here, and then the other ones were still doing like half of it from there, and then they get raised up here, but there's not the increased productivity. It was just that the hop over to the government side of it and inflation kind of made me go, whoa, where did he go there? You know what I mean?
Yeah, that makes sense. And my third point is, again, the people who are in favor of unions, raise your hand. I'm assuming that's everyone that's not a host in here. I think everyone said they were in favor of unions. Am I correct in that statement?
Yep.
Okay. So if you were in favor of unions in your opening statement, please also raise your hand if you're in favor of like something along the Green New Deal. Okay, so 2 of you are in favor of something along the lines of the Green New Deal. Okay. Do you two understand that the biggest unions are actually fighting against the Green New Deal? Do you know that?
I mean, I don't know with respect to the United States. I know in the UK, all of the trade unions Congress is very in favour of public spending with regards to green energy. So
No, do you have
and
Well, I'm talking American politics. I didn't really. I honestly, I had an hour. I had an hour to prepare for this panel. I didn't really look at other countries and the way unions work in other countries. So I'm strictly talking about American unions when I'm talking. So, I understand why that.
Which unions are you referring to, and did they specify why they're against it?
AFL and CIO. They said the plan could cause immediate harm. I said 2 of the biggest unions. Yeah.
Okay. So I'm not sure what their reasonings are, why they're against it, but I do want to push back on one thing that you said. You said that, it would cause, a bunch of inflation if there was a higher rate of unionization in the country. That seems to be categorically not true, seeing as how the rate of unionization in our country was dramatically higher in the 1970s, and the rate of inflation during that decade is pretty similar to what it is today, and the rate of unionization has gone down sharply since then. So, I mean, if that was the case, you would think that our inflation would also have gone down sharply, but it hasn't.
So something about the unions have changed, right? Something about the unions have changed, right?
What is that?
Do you think the unions are the same? I mean, you're comparing unions from way long ago to unions today. Do they do the same job? Do they do the same job?
That the rate of unionization leads to inflation, and I was just saying that obviously
in today's world it does. In today's world it does.
So in yesterday's world it didn't, though. In the 1970s it didn't.
So yeah, because if you actually look at unions, they're different in the 1970s.
In what way were they not impacting inflation then that they are now? I mean, because if you're going to make a statement,
it wasn't as much workers. It wasn't as much workers' wages as it was the safety standards of the workplace.
So they weren't getting paid more.
Did you not know this?
They are now. I'm asking questions because if you're going to make a statement, I'm asking you to defend your point. So I don't really.
Yeah. So in the 1970s, the labor unions were more about workers' safety and the conditions in which they work. That was the 1970s labor unions. The labor unions now hardly ever talk about workers' safety because we have things like OSHA. We have things to workers' safety is pretty much standard now. So the labor unions have moved past worker safety, and now they've moved on to wages. In the 1970s, they weren't extremely concerned with wages.
That's not
We just come out of a pandemic. Like, worker safety was paramount.
The question really becomes, were unionized workers getting paid more in the 1970s? It doesn't matter whether or not they were more focused on it. The question is, were they getting paid more? Because that is directly tied to inflation. Because if you're saying that these unionized workers are getting paid more, that would be directly tied to inflation. But if they weren't getting paid more, then you'd have an argument. But it seems as though they've always been paid more.
Oh, let's look it up. Let's look it up, shall we?
That's fine. I can wait.
And also, like, as I've mentioned, work remuneration hasn't risen with productivity either in the last 40 years. Like, not at the same rate at the very least. So the fact that the work remuneration hasn't gone up, in tandem, would also suggest that the inflation, that the level to which pay has gone up isn't causing inflation, because it's not really gone up in real terms anyway.
You're saying inflation hasn't happened in the United States in real terms?
No, I'm saying that wage
Workers'
increases
wages
haven't happened in
gone
real
up. With,
Workers'
with
wages have,
inflation.
okay.
At least not in line with productivity.
No, definitely not in line with productivity. I agree with you there. Let's see. Union wages versus non-union wages. Would you say 1970?
Yes.
All right, let's see here. I mean, this is an awfully specific stat, so it may take me a second to find. So if someone else
fine.
wants to talk while I look,
Yeah.
but yeah.
I think just for comparison's sake, just know that like it seems like the current difference is that unionized workers today get about 20% more in pay. So if you want to compare that with whatever you're looking for.
Okay.
So another negative that like I have seen with unions, like I used to be part of one, I'm not anymore, is that like if you want a day off, I guess it all depends on their certain contracts, but let's say you got in a car accident, right? Or no, that's too specific. Let's say you got a flat tire on your way to work, right? And you can't make it. Well, there's no difference between that PTO day and like a PTO day if you just had like a death in the family. Obviously it's contract specific, but so whereas a private company, they can give you discretion, like for instance, the company I currently work for, if there's a death in the family, they'll give me bereavement pay, for like a few days. And if something comes up and I need a day off, well then they're a lot more willing to accept it versus if you're in a unionized job, well, you can't just take off all willy-nilly, and still get paid for it. So like there are discretionary issues with unions where it's like very regimented and very structured in regards to the way that you're like the worker are dealing with management, and it's all up to you whether you think that's good enough for you or not, and also like I know Desmond, you said that they on average they make 20% more or whatever, right? But they are also taking out union dues, which is what Sprout said, so you are kind of seeing a little bit of reduction, maybe not that much. It depends on the union, how much the dues are, whatever, right? So like that's another kind of negative thing, and who knows if they're going to actually use that money to fight for what you want. What if you want like we'll take the teachers union, right? Recently, right? Emails were released that they were pushing for, masking in schools, right? Where the CDC didn't originally have that policy or that guidance in place, right? Well, what if I'm a teacher, I'm paying union dues, and I don't feel like they should be doing that, right? Well, then you're not being represented necessarily by your union. You know what I mean? So like there are backs and forths there where it's like it's not always a positive thing, So like
Unions are. Sorry.
no, go ahead. You're good.
I was going to say, but that's good. But, well, unions are democratic organisations, unfortunately,
Right.
and sometimes, and in the teachers' unions, with regard to that, I'm assuming there was a ballot for this particular issue, and they've decided democratically that they would like there to be a mask mandate.
Well, not necessarily. Well, all right. So like I was part of the AFA, right? The flight attendants union, right? I never got to vote on anything that they did, except for my contract. That's it. I didn't get to vote on what kind of publicity they put out, right? What kind of messaging they had. So to act like it's like a direct, like democratic, representation of like the flight attendants as a whole, it's not necessarily true, right? All right.
Do you not elect a general secretary or something, or
what's that?
Do you not elect a general secretary?
Well, we did for like our region. All right, but I didn't have a say in who like the head of the AFA was because a lot of different airlines made up the AFA, right? So
Yeah.
it's kind of like I know like unions probably work very differently, you know, in certain areas, but in some aspects, like, and like Sprout said, I wasn't allowed to not be in the union, right? If I decided I didn't want to be in the union, well, I could kiss my job goodbye, you know? So it's like I'm being forced into this, right? And they're not necessarily representing my values, right? And I'm not necessarily getting a say in it. You know what I mean? Like, I appreciate them being there for like my workers' protections and my pay and certain benefits and stuff, which is great, you know, like that. And like by putting in work rules with the company, so this way I'm not being used and abused, you know what I mean? Like there are very good things, but we have to take the good and like we have to recognize that there are some sort of negatives there too, you know?
Yeah, so I mean,
Suck.
a lot of these things that you brought up, I think, were issues generally with like sometimes, I mean, obviously the collective agreement that's being made or something like that, right? So these are specific to certain unions. And yeah, I mean, we definitely see those issues. I know that there are unions who've found solutions to some of these problems, right? So for example, here in Ontario, where I'm at, some of the ministries, what they offered in terms of fixing, you know, if one of their workers has a political issue with the way their dues are being spent or something like that, they can put in a form, opt for a portion of their dues that doesn't go towards, you know, militating directly for their workers' rights or whatever. You know, any portion of their dues that would go towards action outside of that can be brought back to the worker, and then they can use that money to donate to any organization that's more in line with their politics. So these are like some solutions that can be brought in. So obviously, you know, there are definitely some ways to make unions better. But I think that's just a way to kind of, that's where the conversation should be going rather than, you know, should we have them at all or not?
Of course, and that's kind of like the position I'm in, where it's like I want to point out these negatives and get them better, versus just doing away with them. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. That like
Go for sorry. I was gonna say, would you support a democratic restructuring of the unions then to be more representative of the workers' needs?
Sure. You know, like if you were allowed to like vote on like every single thing, you know, that the union wanted to do or whatever, or, you know, obviously that's depending on how big the union is, that could be actually a really big issue. But like, yes, in short answer, yes. You know, I think like that would be perfectly fine, because then it's like, all right, then it's kind of being run basically how, you know, a country's run, right? Where it's like, you know, you vote on certain things and sometimes you get your way and sometimes you don't, you know? So like, and you can't really say anything about it if you know, actually, you know, I mean, if you're participating in the system, like, I don't know.
Don't go down the rabbit hole.
What rabbit hole? What rabbit hole are you going down?
People not being okay with election results.
I mean, we could go down that rabbit hole because I think it's funny, but
you know, I just want to say one thing about unions in general. I don't think that the question wasn't phrased whether or not that they're perfect. I don't think anyone's going to level that claim. I mean, obviously unions have their issues. Some unions are corrupt. We all know that. Some of them don't function as well as they should. Some of the people involved in certain unions take advantage of the people who are inside them. So it's not like it's a one-size-fits-all conversation. There's just, I think when you put it on average, it seems to be an overall better, because yeah, you mentioned the fact that, okay, people who are in unions, you know, well, they'll have to pay dues, so that money kind of gets like retracted a little bit for how much extra they're making. But that's also not taking into the fact that, again, like I mentioned before, people who are in unions, I think 94% of them have health insurance versus 67% of people who are outside of unions have health insurance. Now, when you have health insurance, that's considerably less money you'd have to pay if you have to go to the hospital for any reason. On top of the fact that people who are inside of unions also have sick pay, you know, usually because they have sick days. So that's less money out of your pocket that you would have to take if you have to take a day off for being sick, for instance, and you have overtime pay, bereavement. These are all things that people outside of unions don't normally have. And so when you take the full measure into it, the full like picture, then the actual rate of pay is even higher than it probably comes out to be. So I'm just going to say it is a little bit more of a complex picture than just like what is their take-home pay.
Well, yeah,
that's what's a day. today for full-time jobs is what I'm not talking about contracting. I'm talking about being an actually employee. You're saying today that people don't have bereavement leave, people don't have vacation days out full-time jobs specifically.
No, I didn't say that. I said that on average, union workers have higher rates of these things than non-union workers.
And a lot of the times,
It's been
shops
pretty-
that are outside of unions also get those benefits given to them because of the unions that exist in shops in their industries, like right next to them. Like, for example, there were 2 steel mills just down the street that kind of operated. One was unionized, one wasn't. And the guys who worked at the non-unionized shop were really happy because they got all the benefits that the guys at the non-unionized or at the unionized shop fought for, but they didn't have to pay dues or anything like that. So, a lot of these benefits that you see in these non-unionized workplaces are gains that were gotten because of unionized workplaces.
So I'm not saying that unions haven't done any good. I'm not stating that at all. What I'm stating is that unions have they've outlived their usefulness. At this point in time, it's not useful for unions to continue to exist among common workplace.
I don't think
Although
that
the
that's true at
unions-
all. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Trix. I've been talking a
Sorry.
lot.
The support though that unions offer their workers, I think, is unparalleled in terms of like the resources that you get. So so the legal time between 10-hour shifts at the moment, or even 12-hour shifts, is 8 hours. So I could work 12 to midnight, go home, and I could start 8 a.m. the next day for another 12 hours. If overnight my boss decided, hey, that's bullshit. I actually don't like that. It doesn't work for my business model. We're going to bring that down to 6 hours. Outside of just quitting your job, how would you dispute this? How would you be like, hey, that's illegal. That goes against like the labor laws of my country or my state. Outside of being like, well, I'm going to join a union and then use their legal resources to fight this and get my boss to stop cutting my breaks.
Wait, are you suggesting?
Yeah.
Is your suggestion how would you fight that outside of a union? Is
Well, yeah,
that
that's
your
my whole
question?
thing is like I think that the resources that union offer, like the everyday worker, I think are priceless, especially with the whole like pandemic and people don't have expendable resources. Like people are barely making rent. I don't think people have like the time, money, or resources to be like, well, now that my boss has fucked me over, I'm gonna go grab a whole team of lawyers. I'm gonna check out all this legislation. I'm gonna take not only my boss but my whole company to court over this one little thing. Like people can't do that while
Yeah, you
also working
sue
a
them.
full-time job. Yeah,
You
but
sue them.
most people, like if they're working this job, they can't afford to go off and like hire a lawyer. And
Most lawyers, when they do this kind of court case, take their profit from whatever you win from the court case.
That's
You
not always
typically
true.
don't. It's most of the time true. And if you're talking to a lawyer that doesn't have that, then go find a lawyer that does. Most of the time, when you talk about workplace standards, the lawyer will actually take its profit from the court case, from the winnings of the court case, and you typically don't pay the lawyer. They just take their profit from the court case.
yeah, but a lot of places don't do that because then it's like if they don't win, they don't get paid for any of their time. But what I'm saying is like the average everyday Joe can't be like, oh, now that I'm working 12-hour shifts every day, I really have the expendable time to go out and search for a lawyer to help me win this. Like, if you're already part of a union, you literally, like, I've done it before, you make one phone call and they're like, yeah, we have a whole team on the case. We're going to open up a thing. We're going to get it started and we'll contact you with updates. It's really, really easy. And I think that it makes getting help, the accessibility of it, I think, is worth keeping unions around. Because
for example,
unions don't actually
sorry.
do anything. Oh, sorry. I was going to say, unions don't actually do anything in terms of money. If they get, like, penalty rates, so if you work on, like, a Sunday on a public holiday, you get time and a half. That's not just the union members, that is the industry as a whole. Every single restaurant, every single like labor thing in the industry, they all get the same benefits. There's no difference in terms of like, if you're in a union, you get paid more.
Okay.
I was going to add to that by saying, add to that as well as saying that you get when you have sectoral unions as well, you then get union representation in your disciplinary procedures in your workplaces, right? So it minimizes, these kind of processes from going awry in the first place without having to go down the whole rigmarole of going through litigation, which for someone who's working however many hours a week and is a member of the working class and has all of these other things on their mind is something they really don't have to deal with, which is why having it sorted by the union is just, it's well worth the, £8 a month I pay.
Okay.
Yeah.
So let's look at unions in real life. Let's look at unions as they exist, right? And again, I'm speaking about American unions, so I'm sorry, Trix and No Justice or anyone who lives up in Canada. I'll be referring to American unions in the American automobile industry, right? In the American automobile industry, you see layoffs, and these are quite consistent throughout time. You see bankruptcy. It's because the automobile union, the automobile shops, they're unionized, and they can't afford to continue that unionization, and eventually you see outsourcing. Like you've seen this time and time again, to where the United States has actually had to give these automobile companies money. That way they don't go bankrupt. Like you've noticed this, right? Or does anyone have another reason as to why they're going bankrupt versus they're unionized and the union is bankrupting the company?
Wait, you think that automobile industry was going bankrupt because they had a unionized workforce?
Yes.
Is that what you're saying?
Yes, 100%. Yes.
Okay.
That's because it's actually cheap. No, it's actually cheaper. It's actually cheaper for the automobile industry to outsource, have someone else make it overseas, and then pay for shipping to the United States than it is to run a unionized shop inside the United States. Without a doubt.
I mean, that is true under the current legislation that was passed by the Trump administration.
So we're losing jobs,
underneath those tax cuts, they did make it cheaper for companies to outsource products outside the U.S. That's absolutely true, but I don't think that's indicative of a unionized labor force, because if that was the case, then why aren't all companies that have unionized labor forces going bankrupt? I mean, you can't just take one example and say, see this one example, see it didn't work out over here, so that means it's bad across the board. That's not like an argument.
I'm saying that
each single one of these industries, right, is going to be unique into itself. So he picked out the specific example of automobile industries, and while that did have a fair amount to do with trade agreements, as to how it ended up settling where it was at, what he is saying and arguing is that it is better for the corporation to go to another country, right, where they don't have to worry about, say, the same types of ideas and laws that are here in the United States with regard to unions over there, because that's not something that they have to worry about. And I think that it's highlighting, right, like the idea that as an American, it's important to understand that the same laws that we have for these things in place here is not in place in other places. And that's exactly how the corporations, when they're working overseas, look at this. And then that's where, like, you start to see some other things like that go on. So is that fair, Sprout?
Yeah, and then it ends up with Americans losing jobs. And the people who did work in the automobile industry are on unemployment, not sure what to do because the other automobile industries aren't hiring.
No, I understand what you're trying to say. I think the point that I'm trying to push back on is that just specifically saying that the only reason that a corporation would offshore jobs is due to the unionization of their workforce is just not factually true whatsoever. I mean, you don't think
you don't think it caused that?
I'm trying to make my point.
Okay.
I do say that a corporation's main point, the only thing they're really trying to accomplish here is to make as much profit as humanly possible. And so why would a company try to offshore their jobs, offshore their equipment, so on and so forth? Because there's cheaper labor forces everywhere else in the world. And so if nothing else, you might be making my argument for me. Because the point of having a labor union is to protect the rights of workers. If corporations are willing to ship their jobs somewhere else, then they don't give a damn about their workers. They never did. They just care about making profit. So you need something in place to protect the workforce of the American people from corporations who don't actually care about their workforce. They care about their profit. And so if profit's the only thing that matters to these people, then someone needs to be in place to safeguard them. And so, yes, not every single labor union is great. and you're citing the automobile union. Obviously, maybe they didn't do their job correctly, but one union failing isn't an indictment of all labor unions. The same when we had conversations about the police, and you say that like, oh, because you have like a few bad police officers doesn't mean that all police officers
I'm
are
against
bad.
police unions too. It's all cool.
I'm just saying you can't use the idea that like if you find a few bad spots here and
I
there,
mean,
then
do you
the
want to
whole
talk about
system's
police unions? You want to talk about police unions? We can talk about police
corrupt.
unions.
I mean, we can, but that's not what I said. I was talking about the police in general. I wasn't talking about police unions. But I was just saying you
The few
can't.
bad
You
apples
can't.
analogy.
Yeah,
You
the
want
few
to talk
bad
about,
apples analogy.
you want to talk about the VA union, the Veterans Assistance Union, and how they
Are
failed?
we switching
Like,
subjects, or
what
can I
example?
finish
What
I was saying?
example do you want to go over? Because I offered an example, and you're like, this is one example, okay? You can't say that all unions fail because you chose one example. So give me an example, and we'll go over how they failed.
Okay, the NBA, the Players
The NBA.
Association.
Oh, you're gonna go.
You
you're
said
gonna.
give me one example. I gave you one example.
So you're literally going to go to the union where people are making millions of dollars a year.
You said give you one example. It's not my fault. You chose a bad way to phrase it. Rephrase the question.
Well, it seems, I gotta be honest, it seems a bit far and away from like more towards the baseline worker, right? To bring up the example of the NBA, considering we were talking about automobiles and other industries like steel mills was brought up earlier. These are more like
He
to the
said, give me
ground
one
jobs.
Example. I gave him one example. I'm just saying.
I just
Okay,
find it funny.
Be the NBA.
I just find it funny that in order to prove unions work, they have to go as far out to say, yeah, these people make $50 million a year. That's why unions work, okay? Because of the NBA, because of the NFL. Look, unions are working. They're making hundreds of millions of dollars a year,
Well,
and
hey,
there's nothing
let's
you
be
can say
fair
that
for a
goes against
second.
that.
Let's be fair for a second. Earlier, when you were having a hard time making a point, we all gave you about 20 minutes to collect yourself. So if you want to give me the same amount of time, I'll go do some Google searching of my own.
Feel free to do some Google searching. Feel free.
Okay, they'll be fair at that point.
All
I
right.
mean, I
And
want to go for
try
another example. If you spare
try to
with
keep it to like the
Sorry.
working class, right? Not the $50 million LeBron James. I don't even know how much he makes. It's probably more than that. Let's leave LeBron James, NFL, like keep it to the main working class, right?
Well, let's take a look at some. Let's take a look at an example let's take this example, which is a good case study, is Toys R Us in Sweden, right?
Okay,
So,
we can do that.
Sweden-
Just a sec. Before we get too far away from Desmond, I want to kind of close this up nice, neat little package. Go back and listen to what I said at the beginning of the VOD. And this is where like labor unions might be a little bit more useful in actually trying to combat some of these laws, right? And actually pushing those things back down so that it does actually allow the American market to compete in that way, right? So that's where I was alluding to that earlier. Sorry, no justice. Go ahead.
Sorry, I was trying to finish off that point. I was going to say, in Sweden, Toys R Us were desperate to open up, to be able to trade within Sweden, right? Now, Sweden has 89% union coverage across sectoral bargaining. So, but Toys R Us have an international policy of never dealing with trade union organisation. And they were desperate. They litigated for 3, 4, 5 years, whatever it was, to try and be able to not have to deal with the union. And at the end of the day, they collapsed and they started trading in Sweden with a unionized workforce against their their international mandate that they would literally do nowhere else. So the idea that we're just going to lose all of our jobs if suddenly everywhere is unionized. 89% is sectoral bargains in Sweden. That's incredibly high compared to 6% of working people being under unions in the private sector in the United States. So I don't see that. I mean, maybe there are certain industries where this outsource is more likely to happen, but it's not like places with the high levels of unionization just have a complete dearth of investment or a complete dearth of businesses for the working class to be able to join and still have higher wages. I mean, there is no minimum wage in Sweden, yet sectoral bargaining agreements are so strong, they get paid triple the federal minimum wage at a base standard for a cleaner, for example. Or the federal minimum wage as it is in the US, rather. So
Do you think this helped? Do you think this helped Toys R Us? Do you think that helped Toys R Us, or do you think that hurt Toys R Us?
I mean, I assume it. I'm assuming it helped them to want to open up trading within Sweden and increase their profits. They just weren't allowed to engage in as much labor exploitation and value extraction as they would otherwise have done had they not had to kowtow to the union sectoral bargaining agreement.
In America, almost every single Toys R Us, if not every single Toys R Us, closed. Just to bring a little bit.
Well, that's not because of unions though.
No, they actually got.
I mean, we're
just got
talking about
bought out
Toys R
again.
Us. They closed. I mean, can you tell me why they closed? If it wasn't because of unions, can you tell me why they closed? Because it's about the same time.
I will do a sprightly
It wasn't
Google.
the same time. It was years apart, wasn't it?
Honestly, it's probably online shopping.
Yeah, Sprout. They actually just got bought by Macy's, and they're going to open 2 brick and mortar stores.
So yeah, they got bought out. I understand that. I understand they got bought out. But we're also talking about Toys R Us. We're not talking about Macy's. We're talking about prior to Macy's, correct?
Well, yeah, no, 100%. No,
Okay,
I was
so, yeah,
I
we're
was just
talking about Toys
adding
R Us.
I was just adding like a little fun fact in there, like they're actually still trying to make another comeback in brick and mortar for some
They're
strange
still
reason.
fighting.
Yeah, they're fighting the good fight, but I don't know if it's gonna work out.
No, that's actually a big problem. A lot of American companies go overseas, and it's like, oh, actually, you can't exploit your workers. We have because of unions, we have like states' rights, and we have like a full like country rights saying you can't treat your workers this way. You have to give them this many breaks. You have to pay them this much, and rather than dealing with that, I know a lot of like American companies just leave. They're like, actually not worth it. We're too anti-union to even, and as a result, they lose profits because they just don't even want to try and open up like business overseas.
I mean, if they didn't go to Sweden, right? If they didn't go to Sweden and didn't do that, then that wouldn't have been an issue, correct? If they didn't try and open stores in Sweden.
What wouldn't have been an issue?
What we're talking about, right?
Yeah, like they only had to deal with the unions
Oh,
in
yeah.
Sweden.
Yeah, because American unions just like the amount of like you don't even hear about like union busting. Like I don't even hear about that like in my day to day in Australia, but like in America, union busting is like a massive thing. Like some people are incredibly and you know why people are anti-union? Because the company itself knows that they could, if they exploited their workers to hell and back, they don't care if their workers die on shift or if they pass out like while they're lifting the boxes. They don't care about that. If they could exploit their workers to hell and back, the amount of profit they would make, you see this with Amazon all the time. You'll
They
see this with
propagandize
Walmart.
about it super hard. Yeah, they remember when
Yes.
it was in I forget the location it was with the Amazon organization where the ballot failed to bring about the organization of a union within that particular Amazon warehouse because Amazon went full hard on union busting against that and doing essentially agitprop against the idea of unionization to scare people out. People thought they were going to lose their jobs if they tried to join the union, which obviously is nonsense. But they thought
illegal.
that because of how propagandized they were too.
Yeah, like the whole idea of like playing videos of like, hey, if you're thinking about unionize, watch this video we made on it. That is fully just illegal in a lot of countries, and it blows my mind that union busting is such like a powerful force in America.
That's why there needs to be a Labour Party in the United States. There needs to be a party that is the political wing of the unions, because we can't remove the Taft-Hartley Act. We can't remove right to work. We can't influence the National Labour Relations Board unless there is a political wing of the union movement, which unfortunately the Democrats are not. The Democrats are still under the control of corporations. They may have some union representation, and whilst I am happy that Joe Biden is the first Democratic president in a very long time to be outspokenly pro-union, it's not good enough, and we're never going to be able to get to the point where we can have proper sectoral bargaining in the United States and have union busting being a thing of the past. We can't do that unless there is a political wing, within the federal government.
Yeah.
All right, so I do have an example here. So I have one example. You have to forgive me. I don't have the fastest fingers in the world, so I couldn't figure out 4,000 different examples of unions that seem to be working currently. But from what I have here, it looks like the National Nurses United Union seems to be a pretty good one. I couldn't find anything negative about them truly. It seems like they have an enrollment of around 150,000 nurses across the country. It looks like the average pay for a non-unionized nurse is around like $77K in America. The average pay for a nurse within this union is around 120,000. Also, on top of that, it seems as though that they have pensions for nurses that are within this union. And so that's not what I could come up with to answer your one question about, name one union that seems to be working out pretty well here. Again, if I can have a few more minutes, maybe I can find a few more, but it seems as though there are some unions out there doing a good job, doing the good work. And if you want to talk about whether or not these nurses are bankrupting their hospitals, not true whatsoever. I mean, if we go back to pre-pandemic time, 2019, hospital profits are at the highest margins they've ever been, ever. Literally
Okay,
ever.
is that because of COVID?
The point I'm trying to say is
Is that because it's a current pandemic right now? because
I'm saying
they're
that
having.
I'm saying that their unionized workforce was not detracting from their profits, as was the previous point that you were trying to make.
Okay,
And so
but
in this
your
particular case-
entire point based off nurses was that they're making more money than they ever have. And looking at that out, I'm sorry, hospitals are okay. Hospitals are making more than they ever have. Looking at that through this lens that you're trying to push off is that it's fine, it's unionized, but they're making more than they ever have, without looking at that there's a global pandemic going around in which hospitals are extremely necessary and have a lot of in and outs about it.
Stats.
You're pointing at 20. So you said since 2019. You said since 2019. So are you talking about 2019 or 2021?
In 2019, I was going back before the pandemic. So
okay, you said
before the pandemic, in 2019, I apologize. I meant in 2019, hospitals were receiving record profits at the time, and obviously their unionized workforces weren't detracting from their profits whatsoever. And plus, these unionized nurses seem to be making dramatically more money than their counterparts. So I did my job. Everyone, I got the one thing that wasn't the NBA people, the one union that's doing good. Did my homework. Give me some clapping.
Clapping, if you go outside of America, you will find a fucking plethora of unions that are doing incredible work and that haven't ruined an industry. The RAFFWU, MIA, literally, I know that you guys are talking specifically about America, but unions work so well. There was a whole thing a few years back where a bunch of McDonald's locations in Australia there was this the bosses were pretty much saying, hey, drinking water on shift, you can lose your job by doing that now. If you take a sip of water in the back room or literally at any point on while you're clocked on and it's not on your 5-minute break that you're allocated, you can get fired. And the government was like, and the unions were like, hey, that's fucked up. You should be allowed to drink water. I can, if you give me a minute, I can find dates for you. But they were like, sorry, I can't type and talk at the same time. They were like, yeah, this is fucked up. People were like passing out on shift, because they're working 8-9 hour shifts without any water. And unions fought for that. And now it is international across the board in all of retail and fast food workers, workers, regardless of whether or not you're in your union, you get rights to drink water on shift.
God forbid.
Okay, so again, I'd like a date for that and see if it's actually a present day case. I feel like that's
here we go.
much
10th of January 2019
in America. No.
I found a date, but it wasn't an American date, so I don't think it counts.
Not in Sprouticus world.
Did you say an American date?
Or is it the Sprouticus world?
I didn't realize dates.
It's just written differently.
No,
what do you mean an American date?
I'm saying I found a date, but because my example wasn't American, I don't think that Sprouticus is going to take it as valid.
Is it Sprouticus?
Why would it matter who you're dating?
Whichever one.
Just because they're American, that's all.
I would never date an American. Do not probably.
Somebody's got to make some people laugh around here. Fucking tension in the room is fucking palpable, right?
Why are you standing? That's my question.
Because he's adding tension to the room.
I'm just sitting here trying to keep it chill, right?
You're not sitting though, you're standing.
Is that making everybody nervous?
I'm just wondering.
I'm not nervous.
I mean, okay. It's a little intimidating, CTV. Your strong, presence.
Very dominant.
You're bringing the alpha wolf out. I feel it.
I feel like you need a pipe though. If you just add a pipe to your look, it'll be complete.
Nah, I don't think. Yeah. No, we got the vape. We got the vape. I mean, it's the cloud, right? You've seen the cloud.
Desmond, something you said earlier though about in regards to insurance, how unionized people are more insured than non-unionized. Well, aren't a lot of the non-unionized people, right, working for smaller businesses, and I believe corporations and businesses that are of a certain size have to offer health insurance to their employees. I believe it's only like 25 people too. I could be wrong on that number, but I believe once they reach once they reach a certain size, they have to offer an option of health insurance, right?
No, you're on the right track. I think the only issue with the point you're trying to make right now is the fact that so many companies have gone out of their way to classify their employees as independent contractors. And when you have that happening, you have so many people falling through the cracks of, being able to even be offered health insurance in the first place. So I see what you're trying to say, but typically, again, if you were inside of a union, they wouldn't be pulling that bullshit with you, where it's just like, oh, well, actually, you're an independent contractor, so we don't have to offer you any benefits. Haha.
Oh yeah, you're talking
Real
about
quick,
like,
real quick, sorry,
So,
real quick, one thing. Independent thought. When you're speaking, your mic is doing some weird noises. Sorry. Just.
I don't know if it's him or Sprout, because I know when I'm looking at the Discord, it looks like Sprouts is making some noise too.
I turned my gain down. Am I still making noise?
A little bit when you're not talking.
When I'm not
Can
talking?
you hear it right now?
Yeah, it's
Is
weird.
it making any noise right now?
Specifically, specifically Sprout. Probably go into Discord and turn noise suppression on. That way, Discord can do a little bit more to help out. Like, say, whenever you're not talking, because it does start making the sound whenever you're not talking. I sent you a DM and asked.
It keeps disabled. Here we go. Let's try this. It's on, so let's see if that works.
IT guru CTV.
Well, it was turned off.
Man of many hats.
Turn it off and on again.
It's true, right? You see, I got this Navy hat.
Let me try turning off and on again.
We just turn unions off and on again.
I got the weed hat, right?
Fix it. It's everything.
Maybe they would stop
Turn
destroying
capitalism off and on again.
But either way,
When I got this hat, right?
We
Yeah,
can talk
man,
about
we
the
have-
nursing union. We can talk about the
Is-
nursing union.
Wait.
There's a couple issues that
Before
I
we go,
found.
is the sound still messed up?
Yeah, no, it's good.
Oh, okay.
I was going to make one quick point, sorry, which was around what we were just previously talking about regarding independent contractors, as well as obviously insurance benefits and things like that too. Now, I want to make the point again, bring back to political organisation with as a union movement is really important. For example, over here in the UK, the unions were lobbying the government to be able to make it so that some independent contractors had to be reclassified as general workers and be entitled to a bunch of benefits that would come with that through public law. So, for example, Uber drivers are now legally listed as being employees of Uber rather than independent contractors, guaranteeing them holiday pay, because in this country, the unions lobbied hard enough so that we have guaranteed holiday pay by the state. Employers have to offer us 28 days of paid holiday every year. You get none of that in the United States, and on average, you only get 10. How embarrassing! Like, you don't get any paid sick pay, but federally, you don't get any paid maternity leave guaranteed. What on earth is this? What neoliberalism themed amusement park is this?
I want to speak to that really quick. I think that the reason why we don't have that in America is because our politicians are trying to save us from the dreaded socialism, because we've been told that if we have things like that in America, then we'll collapse into like a banana republic like the UK, because obviously you have a fiat currency. This is the reason. So we're being protected over here from these things. So we don't want any of your, employee protection. That's all kind of communism.
Nice straw man.
We're too afraid.
Nice straw man. Nice straw man.
Do you like it?
All right.
I took a while to draw that one.
Yeah, no, it's good. It's a good straw man.
That reminds me of
Wait.
the Strawman Symposium.
I want Sprout to hear Sprouticus. He's been waiting to talk for a while. Go ahead.
But for the nursing union, I found a couple issues with because you wanted to bring up the nursing union, and I looked into it, and here's a couple issues that I personally found. That if you're in the nursing union, you must go on strike if the union declares this a need. I would hate to see the union declare a need for a strike, especially right now. For nurses, that'd be awful. Performance is secondary to seniority with a nursing labor union. So seniority gets first dibs on getting the promotion. Whether or not they're actually good at their job doesn't matter because performance is secondary to seniority. So then dues are required, a required condition for working with the union, the nursing union. And you have less control over your final schedule. So if you wanted to change your shift or reduce your hours, you have less control over that just by being with the nursing union.
I will concede that some of those things are not that great, but I will combat them with saying a couple things. First of all, not every job gives you the option to change your schedule anyway. I mean, there's some jobs that are basically just like, this is your schedule, take it or leave it. It's a contract of adhesion, more or less. And so to say that that's just like a thing that's specific to this union, not exactly that fair.
Well, you
Dues
get
are required
extra, you get extra less control by being in a
extra
union.
less control.
Yeah, so you get less control than someone who's than someone who's not unionized would have.
Okay. I mean, I'll come back to that in a second. I would also say that dues are required for every union, so that's just kind of a part of the deal. But honestly, if you're telling me that someone in that union is getting paid $50,000 a year more on average than the person outside of that union, I'll take the dues. As far as the strike thing is concerned, that would be uncomfortable if they forced you to strike, but I don't see any strikes that have ever happened underneath this union, so I guess it's not.
So as
really
long
a
as it hasn't happened yet,
factor.
it's not an issue.
Well, I mean, issues aren't issues until they happen.
No, there could be issues before they happen. You can see, and I work in information security, right? So I work with cybersecurity. You can see an issue before someone attacks the issue. You can see an issue before you're attacked, and then you can fix the issue, right?
Right. I understand.
I don't need to wait till my system's attacked to go, oh my, that would cause a problem. Let's go ahead and fix that before anyone else realizes that's there and tries to attack me. So you saying that it's not an issue because it hasn't happened yet is a little bit disingenuous. It's either an issue or it's not, but it's not. It can't not be an issue because it hasn't happened yet.
Okay.
Even in the case of
let me rephrase my statement then. It is an issue, but it's not an issue that I think about because it's not that common. The same way I don't really think about things that only happen once every 100 or 1,000 or 1,000,000 years.
And the thing is, even then, like, industrial action is usually only a last resort. And anyway, even the threat of industrial action, showing solidarity and showing worker power within organisation and collective bargaining, is usually enough to change policy anyway. To even just threaten the strike, especially when you have something something is so necessary and something so key as obviously the nursing profession and things like that. They know they can't really get away with letting the workforce strike by not ceding to demands. So usually just the threat of a strike in these instances is enough to be able to have the leeway within against the employer.
Okay. So I mean, one of the major issues I have is being left out of the conversation is the issue that performance is secondary to seniority inside of the nursing labor union. So if you perform extremely well, but there's someone who's been there longer than you, then good luck on getting the promotion. You have to have the seniority, and then the performance takes into place. So you're talking about you could have nurses that aren't extremely good at their job, but they've been there for a while, so they get the promotion instead of you. Leads up to a bad management scale.
I want to let.
That's the case
Sorry,
in a unionized shop.
real
If you
quick.
look at a non-unionized shop, then what's going on is that regardless, if the management just likes you better, you can get pulled up. There's nepotism that happens. This is what that kind of thing is in place to safeguard against. Is so that there's no favoritism, no nepotism, where some guy can just pull up his nephew and make him top of the ranks of the company without him having ever worked at the company a day in his life.
Yeah, but there's negatives to both, though. Like, there's negatives to both, right? It's which negative do you want to live with? Do you want to live with, like, do you want to live with never, not necessarily never, but making it next to impossible to promote someone who is doing a really, really good job just because they're not senior? Or do you want to risk, I'm going to hire my son and make him the CFO of my company? You know what I mean? Like which do you want to risk? And I think for like a better business decision would be to allow promotions based on
and unless I'm wrong,
like the way that you're like the quality of your work, right? And risk, because I would hope that I wouldn't make a horrible decision and promote my son to the CFO of my company because it's a bad business decision.
And unless I'm wrong, unions wouldn't protect against that. Unless I'm wrong, unions would not protect against you hiring your son as your CFO. I could be incorrect, but I'm gonna need to see something that says the union would protect against it.
Trick switch. Wait, sorry, I want to let Trick switch answer, and after that, I think we'll go into closing statement. So yeah, go ahead.
Okay. I hate this point because there is nothing in the whole world that would protect against this. Because promotions and stuff, none of that is protected under unions because it's just not like there's. I don't know a single union that has stuff in place for this because, as far as I'm aware, in like every single workplace, you're gonna have that shitty boss who's like, "Hey, I know you're really good at what you do, but my best mate, he just joined and I want to spend more time with him, so I'm going to promote him to be assistant manager instead." Like, promotions are such like a case by case thing that there is no way to like make laws against it or anything like that, because someone could easily be like, "Oh, well, he does better work than you." And even if that's completely false, it's their opinion technically as the owner of the company being like, "Oh yeah, I just think his energy is a bit better. He's a bit of a team player. He has more like drive." All of this is
Well,
really fucking subjective, and
unions I mean, unions do that though. Unions do talk about promotions. They do talk about wages, and productivity is not considered one of the big talking points when you talk about who gets a raise, who gets the promotion. It's seniority, not productivity, not your skill. None of that is really taken into effect. It's who's been there the longest, so who gets the promotion. It's all about seniority.
Do you have any example? I've never heard of unions doing this. Do you have any
The
examples?
nursing labor union
Okay.
in America.
Trix, I can give you an example that I actually experienced, right? Where, like, when I was part of the IFA, right, the more senior you are, the more guarantee you have in picking your exact schedule. So it's not necessarily like promotion in a way, but it gives you added benefits just because that you're more senior. So it's not necessarily like the promotion structure. But me, when I was like extremely junior, I was on call 24/7, and I had, it didn't matter how good of a job I did, I could, be the best little flight attendant in the world, right, and never be late. 100% safety record, everything. But you know what? Just because of my seniority, I'm stuck on being on call 24/7, even if like my work and my punctuality and everything else might have allowed me to, maybe set my own schedule.
Was that like a company like?
No, it was
like
contract. It was a union contract.
Right. So the union put it. That just blows my
Yes.
mind.
Yeah. So like, I think that kind of goes along the line with like the promotion thing. It's not like exactly equivalent, but just like a example I know a lot about.
All right. And with that being said, I think we're going to go into closing statement, and the noise definitely comes from you, Sprout.
Okay, I don't know what it is. I'll figure it out. I don't know what it is. I don't see it on my microphone. And
I'm seeing it, dude.
okay.
It's there. It's there. You'll figure it out. No worries.
All right. Let's go. Sorry. Before going into closing statement, CTV, anything to add? Anything to say?
Look, this is going to be your closing statements, right, to the topic. When we get done with that, we're going to go into the last bit that's going to be the most fun part about this thing, okay? So I want to turn those frowns upside down. Let's get through these closing statements, get through the topic, and then we're going to have some fun for a minute, okay? All right, cool.
All right. With that being said, I'm going to throw it to Splunker.
Howdy, yeah, I've been quiet here, but I was more so more on the freedom and voluntarism side of things. So I think it was good for me to listen, but I have not been swayed against or on any other side other than the stance I've taken is that I think unions can be can have bad side effects. We can, unions can be done in or they can have poor stipulations, and there can be downsides to them. But instead of thinking of it in a manner as such that we should get rid of them, we've outlived its life. It's more so to look at some of the problems and try to ameliorate them, to fix them, and to make these union structures better, because I think they do They do benefit the workers when done properly, and it can be done in a way that's not proper, where it fucks with the employers. So I've not been swayed on any other side. I'm sticking with my opinion there.
All right. Yeah, I'm going to pray to no justice.
So yeah, I would just reiterate a lot of the stuff I said already, which I think that we should be looking at changing the way we think about unions in the United States, away from individual enterprise unions towards sectoral bargaining. We need to support political candidates who are expressly pro-union, because one of the things holding us back towards creating a better union environment in the United States is the Taft-Hartley Act, at-will employment clauses within states, and these need to be be banned federally, as far as I'm concerned. And then there needs to, at that point, be more union-based political activism within the political system. So by repealing the Taft-Hartley Act, you'd have unions be able to contribute to political candidates, and therefore we'd see more worker representation within the political system.
All right. I'm going to pray to TheSprouticus.
Okay, hopefully it's not still there. I think I fixed it, but hopefully it's not still there.
It's okay for now.
It's still there?
It's in the background. We can hear you, so it's fine.
It's okay for now. It's okay for now, bro. Just go.
Okay. So I stick with my position. I think that unions have outlived what they were meant to do. I think they've moved on to what they deem bigger and better things. They're no longer what they were intended for, and they, like I said before, they act as a monopoly. They cause inflation, cause layoffs, cause bankruptcy, and eventually cause outsourcing. You can see this throughout many labor unions. And maybe you'll be able to find one or two that don't fit that, but amongst most labor unions, you will see this general basis of ideas that these things happen. And so I really haven't been disproven, besides maybe the NBA and NFL, where you talk about people making hundreds of millions of dollars a year. So I stick to my original statement, and I don't think really any of that has been disproven.
All right. I'm going to pray to Desmond.
Ah, I thought we were going in a row. Okay. Well, I will start by reiterating my statement a little bit. I think that unions have not outlived their usefulness whatsoever. I will concede that TheSprouticus made some good points. I hope that I did not offend you with my aggressive attacking of your positions. But I will say that, currently there are coal miners who are on strike down in Alabama as well, and they were currently also demonstrating in front of BlackRock in New York. And I think that people like that are probably very thankful right now that they have a union who will give them strike pay while they're actually striking to get better conditions and better pay from their companies, which is one example of many about how unions are still very useful in today's day and age. And while I was not able to advocate for every single union in America, I will say that just one or two examples doesn't discount my point either. And so since you weren't able to disprove my point either, I guess we'll just call it a draw for today. But I will say, closing out, that once again, it does appear that people who are in unions have better pay, better conditions across the board than people who are not in labor unions. And so if the goal of a labor union is to collectively bargain with a company so that its workforce can have better conditions, they are in fact doing that, and that is their use. So obviously they are still useful.
If you think that was aggressive, wait till you get to an actual hippy dippy.
True.
Oh, I can go higher. Don't worry.
All right. I'm going to pray to Trix Switch.
Closing statement. I love unions. Big fan, big love. Unions are the reason why I get penalty rates. They are the reason why I get my 30-minute allocated break every time I work a shift longer than 5 hours. And then I get another extra break after 7 hours. Like, literally every single rights that I have as a worker, I owe to my union. It's completely free as well. It's tax deductible. I see no downside. It has done nothing but benefit me, and I encourage every worker to join their local union.
All right. I'm going to pray to HardWoodenSock.
So, like, in general, like, unions are good. I think that there's a lot of things that we can do to make them better. Better for the companies and better for the workers. At the same time, kind of, even it out and take like the centrist position, like I tend to do, and everyone hates me. Like, I think there are legitimate issues with certain unions in regards to, like Sprout brought up, with seniority. That's a huge issue. If you're giving certain benefits solely based on seniority, based on your union contract, that's an issue. Or being forced to join the union, right? Just if you want a certain job, right? I don't think you should be forced to. Like, I think you should be able to forfeit your right to be represented by the union, but still be able to have the job. I don't understand why you can't do that. Because basically you just wouldn't have the union representing you when you go in for disciplinary actions or whatever. I don't see why that's an issue. But in regards to pay and limits on hours or breaks and stuff, like, I think that's a good thing. So I don't know. Like, there's good and bad. Reform it. Don't abolish it. And yeah, that's kind of what I said.
All right, I'm going to throw it to Chancellor Flurry. Go on.
Okay. Sure. So for myself, I mean, I think I'm going to stick by what in my opening statement. There are a lot of benefits that come about with unions: greater healthcare, more sick days, more paid days off, more pay for the employees. I think a lot of the problems that we've pointed out today can largely be fixed based on like collective agreement or more a more democratic process in terms of the way that we do unions, or even more democratic process in the workplace. If you want to fix outsourcing, these kinds of things, democratizing the workplace is a pretty great idea. In Canada here, and I'm sure in Australia and England and wherever else people are from, got all sorts of great unions. I can name a few, like the Public Employees Union here, the United Steelworkers Union, the Laborers Union. They all do great work with people who are generally considered a lot of times, even independent contractors in some scenarios. And they're fairly well represented when it comes to dealing with their management or any place of employee where they go. So yeah, I think they've long, anything but outlived themselves. I think we need more labor power, if anything. So yeah, that's where I'll end it.
All right, and last but not least, CTV.
Well, are y'all having fun? Are you having fun?
Yeah.
That's what we want to fucking know.
Yes.
Are you having
Still
fun?
having fun, CTV.
Fucking right. Okay, so Danabo's telling me this next topic is supposed to be fun, right? So
Okay,
if it's
good.
fun, Danabo, if it's fun, then we're going to have fun.
There you go.
If it's not, we're going to go on a hunt for Danabo.
Exactly. Blame
There
we go.
Danabo.
Either
All
way,
right,
we're having
go.
fun.
That's right. All right, and yeah, that's all I had to say about it. I said what I needed to say.
All right. Perfect. With that being said, let's jump into the next topic. But before that, I just want to thank everyone for being here. Really appreciate it. So please, everyone, in everyone's chat, yeah, go follow our panelist. If you like their take and everything, follow doesn't cost anything, and yeah, it always helps. So yeah. With that, for the next topic, I'm bringing an expert because it's good to have like the science and everything ready. How are you doing, Frames? Muted.
Eagles fan?
He sounds brilliant. He sounds
Muted.
Yo, we got
Another
3 Eagles fans
fan.
up in here. Let's go.
Hey.
Go Birds.
You're still muted, Frames.
He'll figure it out. He's an Eagles fan. He'll figure it out.
On Discord.
Yeah,
Wait. Okay.
Hey.
How are you doing, Frames?
I'm doing great. How are you guys doing?
Good, man. The Eagles won today.
Hell yeah, they did. Jalen Hurts looked great.
Yeah, he did.
Ah.
I don't feel left out of this conversation at all.
I don't
Anyway,
know what
Yeah,
spot that is.
same.
so yeah.
Football.
Anyway, yeah, let's jump into the next topic, which is a question that has divided in humanity since the dawn of time. What is a better dessert, cake or ice cream?
Yeah. Also, I love that I get brought in for the food topics. You know, that's how I keep this like healthy frame.
Exactly.
Yeah, I'm what they point to whenever they're looking for perfection. So,
Connoisseur.
yeah,
This is a trick
absolutely,
question, by the way.
absolutely. Also,
Alright.
the last topic was great too. By the way, I wish I could have gotten in on that one, but next time.
Yeah. All right. So for that topic, let's go into let's go with the like short opening statement, and we'll start by trick switch.
Yeah, my answer's simple. Ice cream. We don't eat cake in my household, so every year for everyone's birthdays, we get ice cream cakes, which is just massive blocks of ice cream that you cut in like little slices.
Mhm.
Ice cream cakes are superior.
All right. I'm going to throw it to frames.
Yeah. So I'm gonna have to go with ice cream as well. Don't get me wrong. There haven't been too many cakes that I've turned down, but I feel like the versatility of ice cream, as Trix was just saying, ice cream cake. Yeah, I don't know how you could go with cake on this one.
Yeah, but is ice cream cake ice cream or
Ice cream
cake?
cake is a cake.
Oh, I thought the conversation was what's better, ice cream or cake? No,
I mean,
ice cream cake is not cake. I think it's wild.
You can't. No, you can't do
it's
both.
not. But I'm saying instead of having cake, have ice cream.
all right. Yeah.
Wait,
I'm
what's
going
the
to-
topic? Just so I'm done.
Ice cream versus cake. That's the
Yeah,
debate.
yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
okay.
All I know is motherfuckers making me hungry now.
All right. I'm going to throw it to
Maybe
Sprouticus.
all that weed.
All right, Sprouticus. Go ahead. What's your take on this?
It's definitely cake. There's not really an argument against it. It's definitely cake. And it's not at all because I grew up lactose intolerant and still kind of am. That has nothing to do with this conversation, but it is definitely cake. So it's got to have the good icing though. Don't buy like the crappy icing. Like, oh, I just bought this at Meijer. No, you got to have the good icing in the cake. It's got to taste amazing. So, but there's all kinds of different cakes, right? You can get strawberry cake, you can get vanilla cake, chocolate cake. You can get cake with funfetti inside of it, right? And so it's the argument is definitely cake, and cake will fill you up as well. Fashion ice cream will. So.
I'm supposed to be quiet during people's like intro thing, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
I'll shut up then. Hold on. Let me take notes. This is important.
This is why we're bringing experts. All right. I'm going to throw it to No Justice.
Yeah, so I absolutely has to be cake on this one. It is easier to store it lasts for longer. You don't have to have it you don't waste a bunch of energy storing it in a freezer. And I agree, it fills you up with nicely as well. And that's probably the main reason I brown it. Would a brownie count as a cake? I don't even know, but I love brownies. I'm just gonna.
No, technically a brownie is a cookie. It's a bar cookie.
It's like colloidal. That doesn't seem very cookie-ish to me.
Look, this is why this is why Freems is here, right?
All right.
It's obvious that anybody looking at him, he's the resident expert.
Dessert memes,
right?
Yeah.
You know what?
Knows his desserts.
You know
Respect.
what? I don't think we're going to go through opening statement. Everyone will disagree with each other. So I'm opening it like right here. You can engage.
Look, so it's obvious from the start. It's so obvious that cake takes the cake,
That's
right?
right.
There you go.
From the
Yeah.
fucking
Wow.
start.
Easy.
And look, and here's the reality. Look,
shot,
Sprouticus, you're sitting here talking about, right? Like this, I don't know, it seemed like a really, really hoity-toity cake. Like it was like up here, you know what I mean? But you know what? Like I have a real appreciation for just some Pillsbury motherfucking mix and the Pillsbury strawberry fucking frosting, right? Not the whip though. Don't get that whip shit.
That's what
right,
I'm saying. The whip shit's the
frosting.
bad shit. The whip
Yeah,
shit's
the whip
bad
shit.
shit.
Fuck the whip shit, right?
All right,
Yeah.
Trix. I'm coming to your defense here. All right, I choose ice cream. All right, in a big way.
Yeah.
And you guys saying that cake fills you up is like a good thing. I don't know why you want dessert to fill you up, right? You just want to keep eating it because it tastes so good, right? So like that just
Facts.
it
Okay,
doesn't
that's
it
real-
doesn't
that-
help your
that's
argument at
got
all.
some- That's got some real health
Help your
effects.
argument.
That's got
I wanna
some real
push
health
back.
effects. If you
Yeah.
keep eating it,
Well-
and never get full. It's got some real health effects there.
Sure.
Not only that-
All right.
Push back on
not
something
only
really
that-
quick.
not only
All right.
that-
Whoa, 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 whoa,
You
whoa,
can't
whoa.
have ice
Nobody
cream.
can hear
Okay,
me.
okay,
Nobody
okay,
can
okay.
hear me.
Rule number
Here we
one.
go.
Rule number one, first of all. We're losing every time that everyone is talking like over each other. We're losing precious information. So please, this is a serious topic. I would ask you to ask.
Very serious.
I'm going to fray to
So
frames,
serious.
and after that, trick switch. Frames, go ahead.
This is like some of the things that were said earlier. Literally everything that what's his name, Sprouticus or whatever. Like they have strawberry, they have vanilla, they have this, that's the same for ice cream. That's not like a fucking like for or against anything. Also, if you don't have a freezer, of course, cake will store longer. But I mean, it's 2021. Most people have a freezer. Ice cream stores longer.
Wow,
a cake
that's
will go
elitist.
bad.
That's elitist like a motherfucker.
Well, I'm an elitist motherfucker when it comes to cake and ice cream. I will never deny that. So yeah, I just feel like none of those points made any sense. Also, I'm also lactose intolerant, and I will still fuck up some ice cream. Now, if there was something in cake where I was like, "Oh, that's gonna make me poop weird," I probably wouldn't eat it. But I will struggle. I don't care if it gives me the shits for 3 days. I will eat some ice cream. Anyways,
See, my thing is, cake is like a by itself thing. You have a cake. Like, okay, a cake on a plate, boring. Ice cream though has the range. You could put ice cream with like strawberries. You could have it with brownies. You could have
Liquor.
it with literally. You could have it in like drinks. You could have it Bailey's and ice cream. And
yeah.
the range. Cake though, you wouldn't put cake in a drink. You wouldn't put cake with like
You ever hear rum
other
cake?
shit.
I would put
No,
Baileys on
yeah.
cake. Yeah, I would absolutely put Baileys
you
on cake.
drench
You
that
can put
shit.
strawberries on cake. Yeah.
You know how much
yeah.
rum cake
And so here's the thing with cake, right? You're not gonna eat ice cream for breakfast, right? But you're gonna have a pancake. You're gonna have a pancake, right? That's cake.
Oh,
come
You're saying cake on a
on.
plate. Come on, that's
Come
definitely
on.
cake. All right, so you're gonna
No,
have a
it is
pancake. You're gonna
not.
put
No,
syrup
it's
on
not.
it.
Is it
So
rice
cake
cake
is
syrup?
extremely versatile. Cake is extremely versatile, and you can have cake whenever you want to have cake. You're not gonna
That's
wake
like
up and
saying
be like,
lasagna
yeah,
is
for
a cake.
breakfast. For breakfast, I'm gonna have 2 scoops of ice cream, and I'll be good till lunch. No, you get a nice cake, put some syrup on it, and then you eat that up, and then you're good until lunch.
You also put
Ring,
ice
ring.
cream
Oh,
have an ice cream.
hold on.
Hold on
I
a
got,
second.
I'm
This is
getting
some of
hold on. I got
sorry,
I got a call coming in. I got a call coming in. It's the fucking Mighty Ducks, right? Remember that one kid, right? Sprouticus, model kid for the cake eater. Just made a good argument.
I want to say this. Whenever we're talking about like cake or ice cream, like how dare you use the example of like this will sustain me longer? What the fuck does that matter? Like no one's
Wrong.
eating like
Wrong. I just want to let you know you're wrong. Okay. Ask my friends. They all know. They all know cake is better. They've all had cake. They've all had ice cream. They'll all tell you cake is better. 100%. I make the best cakes. No one's had a cake as good as me. Okay.
I don't know.
Cake.
I don't know if you
All right.
know me or not, but using Donald Trump as your example isn't going to win me over. I'm sorry.
If anything, I hate it more.
Yeah.
That's
All right,
because
but-
you're
Hold on,
wrong.
hold
That's because you're wrong.
What do you mean? What do you mean Donald Trump is a bad example? I mean, seriously, guys, all you really gotta do, all you really gotta do is just take that big old piece of cake, just put it in your mouth, and it'll taste
What the
so
hell is happening?
good. So good.
Disgusting.
Okay, I don't know what this panel has devolved into, but this is serious, damn it. Let's go back on the topic.
Can I add something else real quick?
wait.
Real quick.
Yeah,
Oh, go ahead. Sorry, I don't want to like.
I just want to fray to Desmond. He has been
Go
waiting
ahead, Desmond.
patiently.
I've talked enough. Go ahead.
I was going to say, we're leaving out a very important cake here. I'm not even on team cake, but it has to be mentioned. The cheesecake is the best cake.
The cheesecake.
Whatsoever. So,
Yeah.
as far as cheesecakes are concerned, I think all cheesecakes rival all ice cream at
I think
least. At the
cheesecake
very
is the
least.
most overrated dessert that there is.
That's entirely
Dreams,
false.
you're
Wow.
doing so well.
Tiramisu.
No,
I
okay.
agree with that.
Trix, you disagreeing with me is I think it's more of a down for you than it is for me, honestly. So
All right, but can I get a show of hands on who thinks a pancake is actually a cake?
Yo,
Like this has me really bothering me.
No.
It's a fried cake.
All right,
It's a fried
Do you
cake.
think lasagna
Call it
is
something
there's
else if
three.
you don't think it's a fucking cake.
It's a fried cake.
I mean, technically,
Bread.
pancake is a cake. That doesn't
No,
mean shit to me.
but-
Though.
Yeah, and just to be clear, a cheesecake is actually a custard, not a cake.
No, it's technically a
No,
tart.
it's not.
You call it a
a
fucking
tart.
custard.
Listen, if a pancake's a cake, a cheesecake is a cake. I'm just
You
saying.
don't.
I never thought I would see right wingers so caught up on labels.
yeah,
Loving
no. What about a crab cake? Like, is that considered a cake?
I mean, if a pancake's a cake. I mean, we brought the level down
Fish
so
cake.
far.
Right, like anything that has the word cake in it, right, is now a cake.
Why would we
right?
call it cake
it's not,
otherwise?
it's
Is that
not even
expandable?
just because it's got the label cake on it, right? A pancake is literally just the same thing as cake batter. You just fry it. You literally just fry it into a circle shape, and then you put syrup on it. That's why that's why the comedians have had jokes for years saying, no, you can't have cake for breakfast. You will have fried cake with syrup on it, okay? Because it is still a cake. And at
Right.
that point, I guess a waffle would also be a cake. So
So, like, what? I'm
not a
so
cake.
confused while we're talking about pancakes.
because a pancake is a cake.
No.
I know, but what
You
if
make,
that
you
is?
make,
I don't
you
think
make a
that's a.
cake with dough, not batter.
No,
Yeah,
you
but
make a cake with batter. What do you mean?
You make a cake
Yeah.
with batter.
Look,
Yeah.
Sprout,
Cake with batter, you do not use dough.
wait a second. Hold
Bread
on.
with dough.
Do you
Hold
know
on.
how
I
many
gotta
they are?
ask.
Sorry.
I gotta ask this question, right? Because like, are we just simply arguing cake, as in like just the cake with no frosting, or are we talking about cake with frosting? And if we're doing that, then shouldn't we also be allowing pancake, as in cake with whatever syrup, right? Or
Yeah.
whatever? Because then this is where the like there could be a way to bridge this gap through whipped cream. You know what I'm saying?
You can put whipped
Oh,
cream on
some
both of them.
strawberries, some whipped cream.
Yeah.
You can put some
add a
whipped
couple
cream on
blueberries
some
there.
stuff. You might.
Yeah.
You can put whipped cream on your ice cream. You know what I'm saying? So whipped cream. I mean, you can put whipped cream on a few other things. As a movie from the 1990s named Varsity Blues, right? We'll show
Yeah.
you. But I'm just
I got-
saying, whipped
I
cream.
have whipped cream in my butthole right now.
Okay.
All right, panel's over. We're done.
Yeah, I want to see this though, real quick.
Jesus, Freems, come on, man!
That's
What?
making it to the intro.
Fucking innuendo, bro.
That's definitely making it to the intro. If I don't see that in the intro, I'm going to go on strike. Okay.
I don't see. Okay, here's the thing. This is why I keep talking about the pancake thing. Pancakes are not better than ice cream. We can all agree on that, right?
Depends on
Yeah,
the
I
ice
agree.
cream.
No, yeah, I would agree on that.
The ice cream.
Depends
So why
on
the
the ice
fuck are we
cream.
talking about pancakes? Like, I don't.
It depends on the
the
pancake.
variety
It
of
depends
cakes.
on the ice cream. I'm just gonna be honest with you.
Because cake
Yeah,
has
yeah.
more. Cake can be more versatile than ice cream can.
And whoever argued that ice cream cake is not a cake again,
Yeah, it's a
that's
cake.
just wrong. And the fact that you
It's not a
chose an ice
cake.
cream cake to choose your favorite ice cream just shows how cake is superior to ice cream.
Yeah,
Because
ice cream
Why
cake
this was
is
just
better.
cake to begin with.
Ice cream cake is not a cake. I'm sorry. It's just
Ice cream
not.
cake is a cake.
Well, now we got
No.
liars in the room, and I don't appreciate liars.
Right.
Ice
I
cream
think
cake
it could be a
is the
cake
best.
with ice cream on it, but like let's say like the ice cream cake you get from Dairy Queen.
Yeah,
Like,
that shit's cake.
That's not. No, that shit's
So
ice
what
cream.
is it?
There's
Is
no
it
cake
ice
in
cream? Is it straight up ice cream, or is it a ice cream
Yeah, it's just
pie?
ice-
What is it?
It's just ice cream.
There's no difference between an ice
There's
cream
shape
cake
of a
and
cake.
straight up ice cream, is what you're saying.
It feels
Wait,
like we're not
So,
Repeat that real
so
quick, hold on.
Freems, if I work at Dairy Queen, you come in and you ask for an ice cream cake, and I just take, I go to the ice cream, I go to the vanilla ice cream, and I just grab a bucket, fill it, about maybe 2, 3, maybe 4 inches full of ice cream, and hand it to you. Say, here's your ice cream cake. There's no difference between me handing you that and what you were expecting to receive.
I feel like the quality of these this panel is kind of low right now after hearing that fucking argument. No, because like It's an ice cream cake is just a super frozen ice cream in the shape of a cake.
No, it's got layers, man. You put like that. You put like a crust on it. all kinds
Granola
of
bar
shit.
crust.
There's-
Oh, that's
Like a Dairy Queen.
It's
Cookies on
Neapolitan
top.
ice cream cake.
No,
Yes.
it's not. Not inherently.
You know what I'm talking about. They got
Not.
ice cream cake stores around Philly. They're all over the place.
Yes. Okay.
Trust me,
Just
I've
because
made
it has
ice cream cake, man. It's a cake.
Wait, I feel
Oh
like we're
God! Don't.
discussing
Are you doing like the basically doing like the
Yeah,
as a person who's made
yeah, that's
ice
right.
cream cakes? Like
That's
I'm
right.
the fuck on.
That's
You
right.
guys are asking me questions I can't even fucking respond. This is maddening. All right. So like, just because it has the word cake in it doesn't mean shit. Like if I go up to someone, I'm like, "Hey, can I have a patty cake?" You know, the little clap game. Is that a fucking cake now? Like, Jesus
can't have
Christ.
that.
It's not food. What are you talking
It
about?
doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. I'm just talking about just because it has the
Let's
word cake
stick
in it.
to food here, and then
You
If
should,
someone-
you,
every
you
food
should
item
have
has
How about
cake in
this?
it.
Show-
It's
how
cake.
about
chosen a
if
better
someone-
example.
If someone hands me like a clump of mud and said, "Here's a mud pie," is it a fucking pie?
It's
No,
a pie, yeah.
it
It's
is
a
not.
pie I
Oh
would
my
never eat, but it's a pie
God.
nonetheless.
This is
Like,
ridiculous.
strawberry shortcake, that's definitely a cake.
I'm going
Yeah,
to.
because it has shortcake in it.
I'm sorry, real quick. I need to phrase to someone with really bad taste. Trick switch.
I'm currently in Geeks chat arguing whether or not brownie is a cake. It's
It
not,
is.
It's a brownie.
No, a
But
brownie is a
furthermore,
cookie.
We're not discussing recipes. If you go off and you get like a generic ice cream, you know what you're gonna get. You're gonna get like the most average. Like you're gonna get ice cream, right? Cake though is so person by person because everyone has a different recipe and a different way of doing it. That you never like. You might get something
Have you
too
eaten
dry.
ice cream?
You might get some weird wet shit.
I like the
you might-
risk.
No,
But the ice cream is the
Could
same
end up
way, unless
way
you're talking
better,
about
dude.
Shut
Ice
up,
cream, you're always
everybody!
here.
Trix is talking.
Sometimes you go to get cake and they're like, "Oh yeah, I substituted the eggs with avocado." Like you get weird shit thrown in. With ice cream, it is the most consistent, like you know what you're going to get every time. You can trust
not
ice
true.
cream, you can't trust cake.
I disagree.
I mean, that's
Frames.
not true. There's coconut milk ice cream. There's ice cream that's made out of bananas. It's called nice cream. I've heard about that before. There's cashew milk ice cream. I mean, there's all kinds of different ways
Yeah,
to make ice
but
cream.
you know what you're going to get. You're going to get cold fucking circle in a bowl.
First of all, brownies are absolutely cake, and after that, I want to phrase to frames.
All right, this is actually referring to what you just said. I said it earlier in the chat. This is a real thing. Like, if you don't agree with me, you're objectively wrong. You can Google it. Brownies are a cookie. They're called bar cookies.
No, you're wrong.
No, it's not even up for debate. It's 100%.
I don't know
Google it.
why we brought Frames in here.
It's-
I really don't know why we brought Frames in here. Frames literally came in and he's just saying that nothing is cake besides like your standard birthday cake. Okay, he's not willing to
Everything is
actually. He's not
When
willing
did
to
I say that?
recognize. He's not willing to recognize the versatility of cake and how good cake is because of that versatility. You can have someone not like this cake but like this cake. Okay, but with ice cream, if someone doesn't like ice cream, typically they don't like any ice cream. But you can not like a birthday cake but like pancakes. You cannot like pancakes but like a strawberry shortcake. The versatility of cake is actually
Oh,
quite
no, no,
amazing
it's not-
that
whoa,
ice
slow
cream
down.
doesn't hold.
Slow down. Okay, look, you said it 3 times. It's versatility.
Yeah, I know.
Versatility, my bad.
Yeah,
why I
I'm
can't
trying. Like you said it through the. If it hadn't been for the 3rd time, I'd have been like, ugh. You
I
know,
feel like
versatility.
Frames is a plant from Big Ice Cream. Like Frames is just
From big
No,
ice
okay,
cream.
I
They
can't
have
even
a-
get through it though.
They have a lot.
But all I'm saying is, just because I'd say that, I will say most ice cream cakes are not cakes. It has to have cake in it at least. I would feel like even if it does have cake in it, it's a cake with ice cream on it. Sure, that's a cake. But the ones at Dairy Queen are literally ice cream with like a layer of like chocolate brittle or whatever in the
Yeah,
middle.
but those
of
are
it.
abominations. What are you talking?
They're so good. And here's the thing, like I hate this debate because I do love cake. Don't get me wrong, I do love some cake. But like words mean things, all right, guys. That's all I want to say. Words mean things.
Exactly,
So,
words
No,
mean
I'm
things,
still hung up
and
on the
cake.
whole brownie thing.
So
No,
a cake is.
Let's go
defined
back on
as
the
an
most
item of soft,
important.
sweet food made from a mixture of flour, shortening, egg, sugar, and other ingredients, baked and often decorated. That is the
Baked, not fried.
it's fried. You can have fried cake as well.
Oh, uh-oh.
Not according to you.
You can have fried cake as well. Are you saying? Are you saying? Are you saying you can't fry it?
You just read the
You said
definition.
bake.
I'm so
Okay,
triggered. I'm
here's-
muting.
Here's the idea, right? Here's the idea: is that you can cook things in other ways and make them. It doesn't change it, right? Like if I have, let's see, what can you fry and bake at the same time? Potatoes, right? If I fry it, it's French fries. If I bake it, it's a baked potato. But they're both what? Potatoes?
Yeah, but if you're
Bake-
looking up the definition of
bake
French
French
fry,
fries?
it
What are
says
you talking
fry,
about?
not bake.
No, you bake a
It's
you bake
true.
a baked
These are
potato. You
facts.
don't bake French fries.
Yes, you do.
Exactly.
What do you
Bakes
mean?
French fry. What peasant bakes French fries?
Have you ever bought a bag of fries that you bake?
Yeah, I throw it in an air fryer.
Air fryer, okay.
Oh my god, fucking Zoomers.
Well, you don't have one?
I don't have an air fryer. I
You don't have an
I
air
should
fryer?
get one.
Get on.
I will agree. I am on the like. I want to get an air fryer. I should go get one. I just haven't yet. They do seem like they're pretty dope.
Yeah.
Well, as an elitist, you
fries
definitely
nice.
should.
Yeah,
Yeah.
as an elitist, you definitely should. That's why I'm surprised, right? I just,
I don't microwave a lot of things. I bake a lot of things, but I heard that I had some tendies out of an air fryer once. Yeah, that's what's up. I will totally do that. So yeah, you guys are right on the air fryer.
Sandwiches. Ice
Huh?
cream
Still can't get
sandwiches.
over.
A sandwich?
Yes, it's a sandwich.
That's a sandwich,
To
yeah.
derail this more.
Wait, what?
No,
Dude,
don't
hot
go down
dogs
the
are
sandwich route, 'cause
sandwiches.
Then you're gonna go down the hot dog.
Bro,
sandwich
if a
route.
taco breaks in
no,
half,
no.
it becomes a sandwich. If a taco breaks the
Surely
shell down the
ice
middle,
cream
it's a
sandwich.
sandwich.
No, it's not.
It's a
Jesus
sandwich
Christ.
at that
I will
point.
say a hot dog.
Pizza is an
sandwich, it
open-faced
happens.
sandwich.
Yeah, I was gonna
Yeah,
say
so-
like it doesn't. Yeah, you don't have to break it. I mean, tacos on a tortilla. That's why I wouldn't call it a fucking sandwich, but I would call a hot dog like an open face sandwich. Sure.
All right, so
Yeah,
two
but I
things.
haven't presented
Excuse
enough
me.
evidence for me to.
Geek is just losing it.
CTV, go ahead. And
Well, I
Brown
just-
is
Y'all
okay.
haven't presented with me with enough evidence as to why it is that you find ice cream to be superior. I feel like that all of your arguments have pretty much melted away, right? And cake is still
Oh.
staying in the
Yeah.
game,
Wait,
right?
I don't feel like you have said anything that makes cake better than ice cream either.
Uh-oh.
Except cake is still here and ice cream's melted away. Talking about tacos now. So guess what? Cake is
Here,
still
look.
here.
Oh no,
Bro,
my
one else bad
ice cream melted away, and now I have a milkshake. Oh no,
Oh,
that sucks.
Until it all just
Enjoy
ends
enjoy
up on
your.
the floor. Just ends up
seems
on the
like-
floor. Like
it
the
seems
dog's
like
just
you're-
got to lick it up now.
Seems like your
Well, we're
cake has
doing
gotten
bad,
all
though.
dried up and crumbly.
Oh.
Oh no.
I can also say this conversation was basically us talking about all the foods that are masquerading and pretending to be cake. It's also proof that cake is superior, really. I mean,
I mean, honestly,
course.
it can't be superior.
all these foods
because
trying to be cake,
No, I actually
Imitating.
blame.
you have-
just imitating the
cake.
cake.
I blame
It's a
Big
serious
Cake
form of
for trying
flattery.
to. I blame Big Cake for trying to take other things and be like, yeah, this is cake.
Big cake.
Yeah, they're trying to
Yeah, I
get it
don't
all part of their thing.
CTV is a big cake plant. I can see it now.
Yeah, the reality of the situation here, folks, at the end of all of this, because I know Geek was getting ready to take us in a new direction, but like, if ice cream was superior, the old saying wouldn't be, well, that takes the cake. And since
I
that's
got
the saying,
I got a
and it's
better
been
saying
around
for
since
it.
before anybody
Yeah.
else was here, there's a
I got a
whole lot
better
of
saying.
precedence for this takes the cake.
All I'm
Yeah, I
trying
don't
to
give a
say
shit
is
about that.
Yeah, I
know,
don't care
if
about what Bruce
ice cream
say.
isn't the superior thing, then, I mean, the phrase, like, you can't have your cake and eat it too, wouldn't apply. I mean, you can't eat cake, obviously. If you
Hey.
have cake, you can't eat it. Ice cream is superior.
Yeah, you guys are giving us quotes from like before they could freeze shit in fridges.
Yeah.
And shit.
That's true.
I mean, I can tell you,
feel like they
I'm
have
I'm not
dusting
I'm
of
not down the
tablets.
ice like I'm not down the ice cream train, right? But I will tell you, Amish people make the best ice cream, and they have no freezers, no nothing. They no electricity, but they make the best ice cream. I would still say cake is better, but
How have
Amish
you
people
tried
with
Amish
no
ice cream?
technology, because I live in
Italian
Indiana.
ice
you
cream.
not?
Gelato, that's the
I
king of
live-
ice cream.
I live in Indiana.
All
I'm
right.
just kidding.
I want to let this one
Wait, you
respond,
didn't
and
eat
after
the ice
that,
cream?
What, you
I
think
used-
the
like,
Amish
my
don't set up
grandparents-
shops to go sell their wares? Of course they do.
My grandparents.
All right,
my grandparents used to live
all
in
right.
Lagodi. It was Amish country.
Okay.
Dude, I got Amish
Uh,
garlic.
Can
Oh.
I add one more thing? Can I add one more thing, and then I'll stop?
Fine.
Is that good?
Yeah.
Okay.
Go ahead.
So we keep talking about ice cream cake and debating whether or not it's a cake. You know what it definitely is, though? It's still definitely ice cream, and no one will ever debate that.
But it's also cake.
Which is why
Sure.
it's the best.
I don't agree with that, but that's the fact
It
that that's
shows
what
it shows the versatility of cake that cake can
Or
in
does it
fact
show
be
the
ice cream.
Versatility.
or does it show the versatility of ice cream?
Versatility of cake.
It's not
My
like
bad.
either for or
And it
against.
can be both.
All right.
Oh shit.
With that
I
being
think, I think
said,
the difference in these things is that cake is like a holistic term for a whole dessert, whereas ice cream is a constituent part of other desserts as well, whereas cake usually isn't.
all right.
What?
And with that, I think we're gonna go into outro for this. So quick outro on this topic. Give yourself a shout out. Tell people where they can find you. But before that, I just want to thank Danabo for putting this panel together. He's doing an amazing work behind the scene. So yeah, twitch.tv/Danabo and also shellshockcbd.com. Code Danabo and you get 10% for on CBD products. So yeah. And yeah, thank you also to our wonderful panelists. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. Had a blast hosting this, even if you triggered the living shit out of me. That was fun. But yeah. Yeah, and with that, let's go. Wait, CTV. Anything to add?
I think it's obvious here, folks, right? Twitch.tv/Danabo. Make sure you go over there and let him know, right, that motherfucking Lego Batman is obviously the answer to cake and ice cream. Duh. Okay, so from there, this right here, panelists, this is your one opportunity where you're going to have the direct ear of Mr. Dylan Burns himself, the puppet master of the Hippy Dippy that creates the drama that has driven Twitch politics for the last year. Every Friday night, you know what's happening, folks. That's why you're here. So this is your chance. He's listening. I know he is. Tell Dylan why you need to be considered for the Hippy Dippy podcast.
True. That's a good outro, actually. All right. Let's go. Yeah. Give an outro and shout yourself out. And yeah. Let's start with Sprouticus.
I get, you can find me at twitch.tv/TheSprouticus, twitter.com/TheSprouticus. And hey, Dylan should keep me around because I took a run at the belt and there was a corrupt judge. I don't know what I can do about corrupt judges, okay? I'm demanding a second run at this belt, all right? Because, and maybe have a little bit less corruptness amongst your judges, okay? That way it's a fair game, you know, because this corporation really needs to take charge and actually clean up, all right? Clean up the corporation. That way people have a fair shot at this belt.
Yeah. I'm going to fade 2 frames. And by the way, thank you for joining us.
Yeah, for sure. We're just shouting out and leaving, right? That's the.
Like you will, as you
We're done
want.
with the cake. We're done with the cake conversation. Is what
Yeah.
I'm asking.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm Freems. I'm a internationally known author, astrologer, psychic, healer, broadcaster, and workshop leader. And I've been a karmic counselor for about 30 years. So come check me out at twitch.tv/Freems. Yeah, thanks for bringing me on for yet another food topic. Also, I want to condemn Danabo real quick for even though he asked me to come on, for putting me as a D-list streamer on his streamer tier list. I think that we should call for him to redo it and put me up. I mean, honestly, I'm an S tier streamer. It's there's graffiti in Wells that says so. Yeah, I see your eyeballs, Danabo. Anyways, yeah, thanks for having me on. Thanks for asking me on, Danabo. Yeah, I'll talk to you guys later.
All right. Take care.
I can't believe you guys let me say all that bullshit, by the way, without anyone saying anything. I'm none of those things that I said
I
at the
know.
beginning.
I was thinking the whole time, like, wow, really?
I was gonna call you for some help.
By the way, I was
wanna
rated
play
S tier by
Minecraft.
Danabo. I was rated S tier by Danabo, so
Oh, well, never mind. I want to
hey,
be
it
S
is what
tier
it
then.
is.
I want to be S tier then.
Well,
Me and D.
All right, bye, guys.
all right. I'm going to fade to HardWoodenSock.
Yeah, no, I just want to, you know, have a closing statement real quick on the ice cream and cake, right? Flies love to eat crap. All right. Have you guys ever been to a 4th of July party, right? Where do all the flies go? They go right to the cake, right? So obviously, flies attracted to crap, flies attracted to cake, cake is crap, ice cream wins, right? Flies aren't attracted to ice cream, right? So self-explanatory.
That's a weird
right.
statement.
All right. But anyway, I'm HardWoodenSock. You know, I don't have like a set streaming schedule or anything. Kind of try to stream like when I can. But you know, thanks for having me on as always. Moderate conservative content. Find me at twitch.tv/HardWoodenSock. Thanks again, Geek. Thanks, Danabo. You know, it's a pleasure talking to everybody. Some of you for multiple times, some of you for the first time. So, like, it was a pleasure, and I hope everyone has a wonderful evening.
All right. I'm going to throw it to Desmond.
Why should Dylan consider him?
What?
Oh, true. Why should Dylan consider you? Wanna
Why
give
should
you a
Dylan
shot?
consider me? Because like I feel like I engage in good faith and try to find real solutions to problems, and don't try to like stray off topic, I guess.
All right.
And you're an Eagles fan. Hello.
Go
All
Birds.
right. Desmond, go ahead.
Okay. So yeah, first I want to thank Mr. Geek and CTV for moderating today. I want to thank Danabo for asking me to come back on. I know it's been a few months since I've been here. I want to thank TheSprouticus, who took some of my attacks today and kept a smile on his face. I appreciate that. You know, didn't let it get too personal down there. If you want to find me outside of here, you can find me on Instagram and Twitter at Independent Thought. I have a podcast that releases episodes usually every Monday, sometimes more than once a week. And I also have some panels of my own that are on my YouTube channel. Again, just search Independent Thought if you want to find me that way. As far as being considered for Dylan Burns' panel, I'd have to just humbly say that I'm probably not ready yet. I think I need a couple more times down here in some of these panels before I get up to the big leagues. So I think I'm actually making my appeal to Danabo to just have me back on one of these again before I can go up to the big time.
Yeah, anytime. All right. I'm going to throw it to Trix.
Hi, I'm Australian content creator. I go by Trix everywhere, and I have a sleeping puppy behind me, and that's all I've been looking at for like. I'm just looking at my screen at my little webcam. She's so fucking cute. I think that I should be invited to the Hippy Dippy thing, because I'm really cool, and I have good content. You know what else? I'm gonna play the diversity card. There we go. The only problem is Danabo messages me for these things at 3 in the morning, 4 in the morning. He's like, hey, it's 4 a.m. Are you able to come on at 7 a.m.? No, I'm asleep the whole time. So as long as I don't get messages when I'm unconscious, I'm usually available full time. I don't do anything. I sit at my little computer, I play my silly little games. This is really fun though, and I've loved meeting all of you guys for like the first time.
Yeah. And to Danabo's defense, it's usually how it works. You get people dropping out like a few hours before shows. So yeah.
Clearly, what I heard there is that Trix should be a first consideration, right? Not a backup. She'll show up. That's what I heard. Is that right, Trix?
That's what I'm thinking. Yeah.
All right. No justice.
Yeah, again, as always, thanks again to Danabo and Mr. Geek for the invite on the panel today. I am No Justice. I'm a Britbonger rights activist. I stream evenings British time, which can be afternoon Eastern time, sometimes whenever I feel like it. That's my tag. You can find me on my socials there. I should be on Hippy Dippy regular roundtable, the main event, for 2 reasons. First of all, is to fix Dylan's clear anti-Britbonger bias. He can't just keep on bringing on Chud Logic and think that's enough to, you know, have British people on the panel. He needs to at least diversify somewhat. And second of all, clearly there are a dearth of transgender leftists on the Twitch politics sphere. So we really need to keep up the representation for that particular specific demographic as well.
All right. I'm going to throw it to Splunker.
Thank you very much for having me. Yes, I'm the Spelunker. I'm the partner in crime of Chancellor Carl there. Our show is called Chancellor. We're from Canada. We talk shit about Justin Trudeau. If you're interested in listening to any of that, go check us out on every platform. As for Dylan's show, Hippy Dippy podcast, I think I'm a good addition. I don't talk out of my ass. I bring it. I'm good. I'm willing to provide sexual favors, give or take, for the opportunity, for the chance of appearing on the show, and that's my sign off. Thank you again for having me.
All right. And Carl?
Okay.
All right. Well, yeah. I mean, I don't have much to add to that. I would second everything that my co-host has to say here, and you can find us at the exact same spot. Another thing that I would like to add, though, is that if I get the chance to come back on, I would like to show everybody why pie is, in fact, way better than both cake and ice cream. So.
Oh God, here we go.
Get out.
Here we go.
All right, listen, maybe you could be our next expert next time we're bringing this topic. But yeah.
I still want to know how a brownie is not cake, but we'll figure that out next time, I guess.
Yeah, I don't want to go. Never mind. CTV for the final word.
All right. Well, I want to thank everybody for being here today. It's been a fun day. It's been a fun conversation. I've laughed a few times. Nobody's cried. So that's good, right? It's good. Nobody cried. Everybody laughed. We had a good fucking time. So appreciate everybody being here tonight, right? Let me ask this clarifying question. Splonker and Carl, are y'all co-hosts? Is that the...
Yeah, co-hosts. We have we co-host our podcast.
I just wanted to make sure that I was aware that both of y'all were offering sexual favors. That's all it was. Right?
I don't know,
You said
Carl,
you
Carl
reiterated everything you said. I'm just trying to make sure I know who's
Okay,
offering.
okay.
I was acting independently myself.
Let's take it.
I've agreed.
Okay.
So I'm just like, that makes sense though with what they said about wanting to make the argument for pies, right? And so from there, folks, I'm critically thinking veteran. I had a fun time tonight. I hope you did too, Mr. Geek. I know you had a great time.
Hell yeah.
And with that, unless Mr. Geek's got something else, CTV is out.
Real quick, HardWoodenSock. Did you go or?
Oh.
Huh? Yeah, no, I went.
Okay. I wasn't sure. Like for the whole time, I thought I forgot someone. So yeah.
You're good, man.
All right, perfect. Thank you everyone for being here. Really had a blast hosting this. I'm going to say goodbye to my chat and.
All right, see you guys later.
All right, take care.
Have a great one, guys.
See ya.